we just got back from seeing Shazam Fury of the Gods, the next installment in the DC cinematic universe. And let me just say the word on this one was mixed. Just like Ant-Man 3, I heard mixed reviews on this one.
Yep, there were definitely mixed reviews.
And I can see why, too, because...
I think more so, like you said it's more so with this one compared to Ant-Man.
Yeah, I mean, because this is kind of a tough one to talk about, because this was more, like, there were good things and bad things about it. I have a very divided reaction to this one. Like, my reaction to this was more divided than I thought it was going to be, you know? I went into this thinking it might be a good time, you know, good fun ride. Yeah. Maybe there'll be some dumb moments, but I can look past that. But this movie, man...
A lot of cheesy moments.
Yeah, there were cheesy moments, but this was so, like... This movie was really baffling to me. Like, I think we should give the people here some context, you know, because... did you see the first Shazam?
No.
Didn't see the first one?
Yeah, unfortunately.
The first one I have seen, and I thought it was, you know, decently good.
Yeah.
It's a superhero movie that did things on a smaller scale, just like Ant-Man did, because the movie prior to Shazam was Aquaman, which was a very big movie.
Yeah, Aquaman definitely with Jason Momoa.
Mostly because of its visual spectacle. But yeah, it was a very big movie. It made more than $1 billion at the box office. And then Shazam scaled things back a bit to a smaller scale.
Yeah, but they try to have a big cameo at the end. I know that with a clip of him with
Superman, but obviously they couldn't get Henry Cavill due to some scheduling conflicts, I believe, with the Witcher show on Netflix.
Yeah.
But I mean, the first Shazam, it was decently good, you know. I liked the way the scenes were directed. The serious scenes were done well. The dramatic stuff, they added MCU-like comedy, which I was, you know. But it was still a decently good movie that had some entertaining moments to it. A lot of people compared the first Shazam to Big, you know, the movie with Tom Hanks, where the kid's like, I wish I was older, and then he becomes Tom Hanks, and he gets to see the things about adult life. Oh, yeah. Which is what Shazam kind of was a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was decently good, the first Shazam. And then the next film in this little subset of movies was Black Adam, which if everybody wants to know what we thought of that, you can refer to our video. Oh, yeah. But I did rewatch Black Adam prior to this, and... yeah, still don't like it. Yeah. I just felt it was a movie that was action and everything else took a back seat. And I don't know why, but The Rock's plans just, you know... Well, actually, no. I know why. The Rock's plans with Black Adam did not work out. Yeah. Because he was trying to set up the Superman fight and then get to a Shazam fight, but due to all the shakeups that have happened at DC lately, it's not going to happen.
No, and especially some of the end credit scenes are probably most likely will just mean nothing at all just because of what's bound to happen.
Yeah, in the next few months with Flashpoint. But let's give initial reactions with this one. What were your initial reactions to Fury of the Gods?
A lot of cheesy moments. There were some funny, a lot of cheesy, funny, and some good moments in my mind.
For me...
It's like blended up.
Blend? All right, so for me, there's good and bad moments. I'm just trying to figure out which outweighed what. And that's where my divided reaction comes in with this one.
Yeah, because at first it starts off serious with the two goddess, you know.
We're going into spoilers right now.
Yeah, it starts off with that, so it gets all serious, and then it gets to the whole, because it's like, oh, it must be like some wise, intelligent, you know, chosen one or something like that. Then it just gets to the kid just like, I am a dumb person, or a dumb kid right now.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the serious scene where it's in the museum, I don't know why, but the exhibitor, when he's like being all cheery and stuff, speaking from experience, no museum employee acts like this. None of them put on this like cheesy, cheery thing, you know?
Yeah.
They'll do something professional, but no museum employee acts like this.
No, but you could almost say it's one of those movie tropes that ends up killing the museum cheerful guy, which ends up happening.
Yeah, because like the movie opens, like we said, we see these this museum exhibit of like Greek mythology, and I think it's in Athens or somewhere in Greece.
Yeah, it's somewhere close to what supposedly is like the closest thing to like Mount Olympus or something like that.
Not really Mount Olympus. It looks more like Athens, because I know it looked like the ruins.
Well, yeah, because you know how like Athens have like the big mountain or something like that.
Yeah, but not Mount Olympus is supposed to go way above the clouds into the sky.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the whole like quotations are closest thing to it, basically.
Yeah, and so these characters that we're introduced to are the bad guys of the movie. Well, technically one of them is really evil, while the others, which we'll get into, are not necessarily evil, but are going along with it until they realize, oh, we gotta stop this. We gotta stop our sister because she's gonna cause death and destruction.
Yeah, it was more of like a disagreement, and which would lead to that, where it's like, oh, okay, she's beyond reasoning, basically.
Yeah, and so the exhibit that's being on display is the staff from the first film, which was broken into, and I'm like, wait, how did they get a hold of that? And then they do explain it later on. Yeah. Which I'll get into. But anyway, so when they like infect the minds of the people in the museum, like one of them does, and then their eyes go all black. Yep. And then it quickly spreads and it turns into chaos. Yeah. The way that scene was shot, it felt like a zombie outbreak movie.
It kind of was, but it's like a controlled, basically, because again, first it was cage up, and again, this person eventually we figure out, being Calypso, being the
the chaos god.
The goddess of chaos, yeah. That ended up just turning it to nothing because everyone eventually turned into stones because of the other goddess.
Yeah, and when they turned, it was Hesperon. She's like the goddess of the elements. But when they turned to the statues, it was kind of like, okay, do these look like they came out of Pompeii or something?
I think that was supposed to be kind of like that very similar trope or something like that, like Pompeii or like volcanic eruption, and everyone just kind of like.
Yeah, everyone looks all charred and burnt matchstick, but more stone-like, less burnt matchstick. Yeah. And then, so basically, okay, so like they kill off the employee, like they tip his statue and it shatters. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you do that to any annoying comic relief character, really. Yeah.
So they got rid of him right away.
Yeah, so it's like, this felt similar to stuff that I've seen before, because the thing is about Shazam 2, a lot of this movie felt either cliche or just seen it before,
Yep. Well, again, like the whole, like, they, like, we gotta be wary of, like, whoever, like, their chosen champions are. They must be wise and strong and powerful and stuff like that. Yeah. It cuts over to, like, then it cuts over to Billy. Who's like, I am...
Yeah, it cuts to Billy. He's going to see, like, a psychologist, or at least he thinks it's a psychologist.
Well, I guess for him, since it's, I guess psychologists are like adult things, so in his mind, since he's still a kid, he went to a kid version?
Yeah, the kid psychologist. They established that.
Yeah, and which the guy was confused because he sees Billy as Shazam form and not...
Yeah, he doesn't see him in his child form. And, I mean, well, technically we shouldn't say child form because these are teenagers in this movie.
Yeah, or close to adult, actually. He's like 17, supposedly.
But... Yeah, and he'll get to 18 within like the next few months or whatever. Yeah. But during that scene, I actually saw the Annabelle doll from the Conjuring movies. Did you see that?
I did not notice that, actually.
Oh, it was in there because the director of this movie did one of the Annabelle movies, so he actually had the doll in the first Shazam film. Like, I saw that. So he's like, oh yeah, I directed one of the Annabelle movies. And I'm like, yeah, you did, but we're trying to focus on the superhero stuff here. I get you have a scary movie background, but we're just trying to focus on the superhero stuff. Yeah, I mean... Really, this whole movie with its like cheesy and cliche moments, because that's really what it felt like to me. A lot of the scenes, Then
you have the foster, family, which a lot of the kids have also the same superpower as well.
Yeah, because it was established in the first Shazam. They get all the powers when they say the name of Shazam. Yep. And we do see them doing super heroics. Like, the very first super heroic you see them do is they're saving people on a collapsing bridge. I don't quite know what the bridge is.
Also, before that scene, there was also another cliche, cheesy moment of, oh, there's this thing that's happening, and we need to exit ourselves out of here without our parents knowing.
Oh, yeah, where they got to make up the story without the parents knowing. Yep. Like, I've seen that before in other things, and I'm just like... Oh yeah, this is nothing new. Yeah. Not one bit.
So there's like a whole code or something like that, like they said, like, oh, it sure is sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't quite remember what it was. And then, of course, they go out and they go, Shazam! And they turn into all the heroes. Yep. But then they save all these people on a collapsing bridge.
Also, I like to say, though, the sunny in Philadelphia thing, It is from the TV show, actually.
Oh, FX?
Yeah, FX,
Yeah, I saw ads for that, but never really saw it.
But that TV show, it's like, now I just think about, like, oh yeah, there's one other advertisement reference or whatever the case may be for that TV show, which also this movie does other advertisements.
There's a ton of... Well, there was one moment that stuck out that felt like...
So straight up advertisement.
Yeah, which we'll get into that. But anyway... So they go to the bridge.
Yeah.
I don't know what the bridge is because I don't know all the bridges in the Philadelphia area. But basically, the bridge is collapsing, and it wasn't very clear to me like how the bridge is collapsing. Like, is it because it's old and deteriorating, and they need to update it with like good engineers, structural engineering? Maybe that's what it was.
Probably was because it had nothing to do with the villains of the film.
Nothing to do with that. It was just a bridge is collapsing, and I guess maybe bad structural engineering that needed to be updated.
Yeah, that or like maybe wiring or whatever the case. Maybe that just
But you would think someone within the city of Philadelphia would be like, "Oh, this isn't good. The bridge is gonna collapse if we don't do something about it." But I guess their structural engineers are too lazy to do their job.
Yeah, probably, or just one of their bosses didn't have the time or missed something or whatever the case may be. Either way, bridge is collapsing.
Or maybe they can't reveal this information because we can't, the press.
Yep, especially so. And eventually they did half the job right. They did half the job correct.
Yeah, but before you get into that, with the bridge collapse scene, the way they shoot it, it's so derivative of another movie that I know of, I can tell you what it is. In Final Destination 5, one of the very first death premonitions is this collapsing bridge, and you see how all the characters die in gruesome ways.
Are you talking about the one where the kid was on a bus or something like that, and he had that premonition?
Yeah, he was on the bus with his buddies. He had the premonition. He's like, "We gotta get off the bridge. It's gonna collapse. It's gonna collapse." And of course, they all follow him, and it does happen. Yeah. And then they're like, "How'd you know? How'd you know?" But before that, we see all the gruesome ways the characters die and stuff. Yeah. The way they shot that bridge sequence, it felt like it came out of Final Destination 5.
Kind of was, but at the same time, well, of course, none of them everyone had an inkling of something bad was going to happen, but they were all too slow, like any other.
Yeah, and I mean...
to catch on until it's too late.
Yeah, and you actually see this woman, she sees the bridge is collapsing, but it never occurs to her, get out of the car! The bridge is collapsing, get out!
While the song I Need a Hero was playing.
I was getting some Shrek 2 flashbacks from that when they played that.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure.
Yeah, I'm surprised they just didn't throw Shrek in as a joke and he comes in and saves everybody.
No, but it was still kind of funny that at the last moment, Shazam was like, "Of course I save you when the song is playing."
Yeah, but anyway, they do save all the people, so good on them.
But
then they try to save the bridge.
Which
does not work out.
Of course, another cliche happened. Now it's time to save the bridge. Cuts to
next thing you know, the news is like,
bridge collapse.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like bridge collapse. But everyone's all right though.
Yeah, I almost kind of expected the Justice League, or at least small section of the Justice League, to show up and save them. Kind of like how Iron Man helped Spider-Man in Homecoming, put that boat together. And then the Justice League is like, I think you guys have done enough. They could have done that. But then again, that would have ripped off Homecoming.
A little bit, but also at the same time, who would have probably taught them, though, anything? I mean, I think it would have been more fitting of the Wizard to probably do that.
Yeah. If they wanted to bring him on board. But apparently, due to their antics in Philadelphia, the city does not approve of these guys.
Well, of course, that was already hinted at right before the bridge, happened. You saw the child psychiatrist pull up the paper saying, city does not watch, the guy or whatever.
Yeah, and when as soon as it came to me, I realized the city not approving of these heroes. It came to me what this is referencing. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. Which is a quote that the Green Goblin said in Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, no way.
It applies directly to this.
Yeah.
It's like, you could seriously have Willem Dafoe show up and, say this exact quote.
Almost, basically. Or just have, something, echo in the background or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But, of course, then Shazam Billy was, trying to give a little coach prep. It was like, all right, guys, we did some good things, we did some bad things. Now we got to see what we did through. Of course, he also did this cheesy stereotype of the coaching thing with ESPN.
Oh yeah. They played the football, one of the football themes.
The Monday Night Football theme, or it was the Monday Night Football like intro theme. Basically, it's just like, of course, ESPN.
Yeah, but none of the other members want to listen because they're all like busy doing their own thing.
Yep, each have their own personal lives or whatever. Like
Yeah.
one wanted to watch the baseball game, another one had to do some other thing.
Another one, Mary was feeling like she should have gone to college.
Yep, so she was trying to study for something. You also got one guy who was trying to clean himself up because he went through a door that was nightmarish or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was actually one of the more interesting lore parts that they never went into, actually, because they tease this in the first Shazam. You see all these doors and all the dimensions and the creatures they lead to.
Yeah.
Like, what is in there? What sort of dangers exist across the dimensions?
You can also I would have probably assumed like either Constantine or Dr. Fate, or
If they had brought John Constantine, he would have explored all that and helped them out.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been something like that. Those guys would have been probably fit the job, basically.
Yeah, they're the magic users. You could have brought actually the entire Justice League Dark into this, and they could have helped them out.
Probably, at least in terms of this one. But going back to it, then you have the other girl who took the cat, so she had to return the cat.
Oh yeah, she saves the cats first, and then these like stereotypical mean girl looking characters. They're like, what, did she not save us? And then immediately she comes back and saves them.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So but everyone's doing their own thing. Also, Freddy was also doing something else too.
But before we get into that, actually with the door scene,
Yeah.
he puts these signs up with video game ratings: E for everyone, M for mature.
Yeah.
Like there was one that stood out to me: Nightmare Fuel, M for mature, and I'm like, okay, what horror games have you played that would count as Nightmare Fuel? And I can think of a few.
There are a few out there. There's like Nightmare Fuel-ish for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's the gamer character because they established that he was the gamer of the family.
Yeah.
And he did name drop Watch Dogs in the first movie, which is how he picked up some computer hacking skills.
Yep.
Which I don't know if that's true or not, but anyone who's played the game, you can tell me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just like that he puts video game ratings on all the doors, and it's like that was kind of cute for what it was.
It is kind of interesting. Like this is like, okay, so let's say friendly, not so friendly.
Yeah, and then you do see him play Xbox in this game. I think it's the Xbox One, but I didn't really see a console on that TV.
Yeah.
And the video game footage was very stock. It was just like basic template. I couldn't even tell what it was.
Yeah.
Because I know in the first Shazam, we see them buy an Xbox One and they play Mortal Kombat X on it.
Yeah.
But in this movie, I just stock gaming footage. Maybe there was copyright. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
But you were going to say the thing about Freddy.
Yeah, because he goes off to do his own thing, and then eventually meets this girl that nobody knew about until midway through the film.
Oh, I gotta talk about this because so Freddy, like, he gets a love interest in this movie, but I'm just gonna say this right now: every single scene that feature these two characters together talking, every single scene is so cliche. Because it just feels like you've seen this romance scene between the two in other superhero movies. You've seen it in other stories, and it's just like...
It is kind of true. First, it starts off like high school romance, and then it leads to other sorts of romance.
Yeah, but
between those two.
The high school romance stuff, it just felt so, like, Disney Channel level, but not super cringy.
It did feel. I mean, it was getting close to that, though.
Yeah. I saw you in the theater, and you were just kind of cringing a bit. But I was like, "Oh, geez, it's gonna get to this part," and I was like, "Get going! I'm not here for a romance."
Yeah, I mean, they start to develop that a little bit. I'll say a little bit quickly. Although, I will say this though, they did have common interests, which is family relatives who are very watchful eye over those two.
That is true. They did have that.
That was basically probably the main premise, basically, of that common interest, which immediately came out right away for both of them.
Yeah, but I mean, the way they handle these scenes, it's just like, I've seen this before. I've seen this in, I saw it in other superhero movies. I know I have, because I know the Spider-Man movies have done this.
Yep.
But I've seen this in other stories, and it's just like, no, get going. I don't want to see all this.
Yeah.
And it's like, they do it 4 or 5 times in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, no, but they do it that much, and it's like, okay, I've seen this before. Can you do something new?
2 to 3 times at the high school. The third time, which led to the whole confrontation of the other sisters, basically.
Yeah, and So the villains of this movie are actually the daughters of Atlas, who is a titan in Greek mythology, not a god, but a titan.
Yep.
Because if you played the God of War games, you do see Atlas, and he's imprisoned, and he's holding up the earth with his hands.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even think they even name dropped that Atlas was a titan.
Not as a Titan, no, but they name dropped him more than a few times, basically.
Yeah, and then so these characters like you got Calypso, who's the goddess of chaos. You got Hespera, I think that's how you say her name. She's the goddess of the elements.
And then the third child, which they finally kind of like reveal, basically, we're like, oh no, wait, there's a third one.
Yeah, it was like Anthena or whatever.
Yeah, which turned out to be the youngest looking one.
Yeah, and her powers like are very mirror dimension mixed with Inception, and I'm like, oh geez, I've seen these visuals before.
Yeah, and they call it the base of the power of access, basically, which I could imagine with the mirror or something like that. Kind of shape everything into accessing all sorts of things.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, can this movie get any more derivative? Can it just feel like I've seen anything else, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's a lot of scenes and visuals that just feel like they were borrowed from other DC movies, other things that I've seen. And actually, that's something I did want to talk about is, you know how I said when we did Black Adam, I felt like it was ghost directed by Zack Snyder?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like with Shazam 2, there's parts of this that felt like it was ghost directed by Zack Snyder. This felt like a Zack Snyder movie in places. With the drowned out colors and the way the action sequences and the flying sequences are shot.
Yeah.
It seriously feels like Man of Steel mixed with some other Zack Snyder stuff.
Yeah. Also, going back before the third, you know, kind of like that love thing, which also reintroduced the sisters again. You also got Steve, the pen.
Yeah, that's another thing we should get into is like, so it's established at the end of the first Shazam that the Rock of Eternity, or what did I say? Rock of Eternity? It's Rock of Eternity, or Rock of Eternity, or whatever. I'm getting everything mixed up here. But basically, they turn it into their lair. But when we first see it, it looks like a cheerier, lighthearted version of the Batcave. Like, did you get any Batcave vibes from this?
Maybe a little bit, but not too much. I just thought of it as like a kind of like a. I don't know, how would you say it? Kind of like a, not super Friends per se, where you have like the Hall still, which is kind of like
the Super Friends Hall of Justice.
Yeah, the Hall of Justice, something like that, where you have like the hall, and then you have access to other rooms and stuff like that per se.
I've seen parodies of the Super Friends where they did go into their lair a bit.
Yeah.
I saw maybe one episode here and there.
Yeah.
But I do know that, like, I seriously felt this looked like a cheery, lighthearted version of the Batcave.
Yeah, because, again, you got, like, the main hall, or, like, the main area, where they all meet, and then you have, like, the one room with all the bunch of doors, and you also have the library. Yes, and they actually decorate the 7 deadly sins, and I'm surprised we didn't get a small snippet of the sins going, oh, this is embarrassing. Like, none of them were like, oh, this is so embarrassing. They took away our mean image, man. Like, they don't do that. But then there's this, like, hidden library room, which, I don't know if you got this, but it seriously looks like it came out of Harry Potter. It did kind of feel very Harry Potter-ish vibe a little bit with the whole, books flying.
The flying books and the origami.
And then you also got the pen writing on its own, having its thoughts and stuff.
Yeah, they call this character Steve, and I'm not familiar with Shazam comics, so I don't quite know if this was a thing in the comics.
Yeah.
But the way it was writing out the words in the paper, I was getting some Chamber of Secrets vibes from that. And Chamber of Secrets is my favorite of all the Harry Potter movies. I know some people will probably argue with me on that, but it's my favorite. And the way the pen's writing out these words, because it's like a see-all, know-it-all mythical pen. And the way it's writing out the words, it's like the scene where Harry Potter is communicating with Tom Riddle by writing in the diary.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean,
Yeah, and it's like, that's where I'm like, this is so out of Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, when they're going through all these books, and they're learning about these gods of chaos and stuff, the way they shot that scene was so similar to a scene in Fellowship of the Ring when Gandalf is like going through Gondor's archives and library in Minas Tirith. He's trying to learn about Isildur and his encounter with the ring. I almost expected the characters to say this line of dialogue in that scene. The year 3434 of the Second Age. This is the account of the wizard, high king of all magic users, and the finding of the Staff of Power. It has come to me, the one staff. It'll be an heirloom of my kingdom. All those who follow in my bloodline shall be bound to its fate, for I will risk no hurt to the staff. I almost expected them to say, like, Lord of the Rings-like dialogue.
Yeah.
They seriously did. And the way they shot it, it just felt like Fellowship of the Ring at that point. You know?
Although, funny enough, too, even though I now I'm thinking about it again as well, I did reference the wizard as Merlin.
Oh yeah, they name dropped the wizard as Merlin a lot.
They did,
in this movie.
But funny enough, I'll say this for the end really quickly when he kind of shaved and everything else like that, I was like, yep, I recognize that face from anywhere.
Oh jeez, that like fashion style that he was going for. I don't know about you, but that seriously looked like a pimp named Slickback from the Boondocks.
If you ever, I watched this film actually on my flight down for one of my vacation trips one time. Kingsman. I was like, Merlin!
Oh
Kingsman!
yeah, because he was in one of the Kingsman movies.
Yeah, and he was literally codenamed Merlin. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I wonder why.
I guess I just wasn't thinking of that. But yeah, that fashion thing he's wearing at the end after he's all shaven, he seriously looks like a pimp named Slickback from the Boondocks. And I'm like, of all the things you want to reference that?
Oh no, when I saw that, I was thinking immediately of a Kingsman vibe. Oh, right there. I was like,
I didn't get any Kingsman vibes at all.
I got a Kingsman vibe right there because he got all dressed up, he shaved, and he had the exact same like facial kind of like shaven look as his Merlin counterpart, or as his Kingsman counterpart.
Yeah, in the third Kingsman movie, which is the King's Man. I do enjoy those movies quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, which takes place in the 1914, actually.
Well, the prequel takes place like around 1910s, around World War One, and the other two films are set in modern times.
Yep. I watched the one that preludes, the one in World War One, basically.
Yeah,
and that's where he came from, the wizard guy. It's like,
and I do enjoy the Kingsman films a lot because they're a lot of fun. I was not getting any Kingsman vibes from that, not one bit.
I guess you haven't seen the one that takes place in World War One.
No, I did, but I just didn't feel like Kingsman to me because the Kingsmen dress more like suit and tie, fancy look. They don't dress like that.
I mean, to me, I saw because he dressed very similar to that, and the Merlin did in Kingsman, in the first one, or the prelude World War One, basically, or that during that World War One. I was like, yep, and especially again, like I said, that facial.
And the wizard's actually back in this movie because if you thought he was dead in the first movie, oh no, because you see in the first film, like after he gives the powers away, he crumbles into dust.
Yep,
and you think, oh, that's it, he's dead. No, he's still around, but I don't think they ever threw out how he comes back.
No, they didn't. Although apparently he's in a jail cell though.
Yeah, how did he recover from his ash? When he goes to ash, how did he recover from that?
And then I guess in that return, if he recovered from that, who put him in the jail cell?
Yeah, I mean maybe
the
goddesses dabbled in some occult afterlife stuff, and they're like, oh, let's bring this guy back because he recklessly gave the power away, and we'll throw him in jail.
Yeah.
And the wizard also really flip-flops in this movie. At first he's like, oh, I regret giving Billy the powers and stuff. I'm going to take him away from him. But then towards the end he's like, no, you're the one I can trust the most.
Well, yeah, because after all thoughts and consideration, after seeing Freddy and him telling him, he gave us the powers. Wait, he gave you guys the power? It's like, yeah, it's like...
I don't know, it's like when they say oh, we chose Black Adam, but we chose recklessly, and then they chose Billy, but even Billy's still got some screw-ups. It's like, are the wizards really not that wise? I mean, just, ugh. It's kind of frustrating how they write him and stuff with his flip-flopping. It's like, oh, I want to take the powers away, but no, he gets to keep them. It's like, you either regret it or you don't. Pick one and stick with it. I don't know.
Well, again, he regretted it, but then after learning a few things, he's like, okay, maybe I did not. Maybe I guess my gut's instinct was correct.
I guess you could say that, but it just did. I don't know. It just does not feel like the most original writing. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of frustrated with this movie. I'm not angry with it, just a little frustrated.
Yeah. So then, speaking of which, of the Merlin stuff, or the wizard and stuff like that, because right before all that sort of stuff because they came back. They revived the staff because they kind of forced them to revive the staff.
Yeah, they like put it together and then they make him shout the name.
Yep, through chaos magic.
Which is the fix all of all solutions apparently.
Yeah. I guess saying Shazam is summon lightning and fix everything. Although he did say clear and lightning. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, and it's like, and then they like when the wizard finds out that Billy like broke it. And then he even explains to the other characters, like, I broke it, but then I kind of threw it away. And even they're all looking at him like, oh, you're very dumb for doing that.
Although now I'm thinking about it, I was like, you broke it and throw it away, and somehow, and then somehow that thing gets recovered for some odd reason and puts in a museum a little bit, or somebody recover it.
Yeah, it's like, Billy, you gotta archive this stuff, man.
Anakin's lightsaber revive, anybody?
Remind me again?
Darth Vader cuts off Luke's hand, and somehow lightsaber years later in Episode 7 gets into this, katina.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know why I was not questioning that when I saw the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This film's just kind of frustrating to talk about. But what else is there I can say? Oh yeah, for the most part, the action in this film was chaotic, but I liked it enough.
Oh, yeah, definitely, with all the magic and stuff like that. Going to the third high school scene up at the top of the building where chaos magic was used to kill off one of the teachers or one of the staff members.
Yeah, and this teacher, by the way, is played by Dietrich Botter, of all people.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say his name. And I recognized him because he was Batman in Batman the Brave and the Bold. Like, he voiced Batman throughout that entire show. And I'm like, oh, wow, you got him to be in this? That's kind of interesting.
I guess they killed off Batman in another time.
I don't know, but I don't want to get too multiversal and stuff like that.
Anyways, though, continuing off of that, then they capture Freddy, and then...
Yeah, they capture Freddy, because he's like the first one that they take the powers away from.
Yep.
But actually, there's a small scene where, like, Freddy's going out looking for bad guys, he's looking on the police scanner on his phone. And then he finds like a crime or something, and the music they play was actually one of the songs they used in one of the trailers for Destiny 2.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess I didn't really catch that, really. But then, of course, Billy was like, don't try to go anywhere tonight. And it's like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, come on. It's just like, shows him the photo.
Yeah, but what really bothered me about this little scene was, like, he's walking through what looks like a really sketchy area of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you should not be walking the streets out there at night, because the crime in Philadelphia is pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia is a dangerous place, although Chicago is getting, really bad as well.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you should not do that. But then again, he's a superhero, so I guess he's got some kind of backup plan.
Well, yeah, of course. That he's, you got superpowers, you feel confident.
Yeah, and so I thought, okay, we're going to see him stop a crime. But no, they, like, cut away to the next day, and then you see on the phone what he did.
Yep.
And I'm like, I just wanted to see him. Maybe there's a deleted scene or an extended scene where he actually, was doing this, but he ended up destroying the armored truck. But I really wanted to see that scene, but they cut away, and that's frustrating.
Yep, and then going back to the first fight scene in the high school area, because the goddesses capture Freddy, they go away. They also entrap Philadelphia.
Yeah, they put a dome above Philadelphia. Were you getting Simpsons movie vibes from that?
Eepa!
Because, like, in the Simpsons movie, they placed this massive glass dome above Springfield, and then Homer's like, "No!" Like, I was kind of expecting.
Crazy old man was right.
Yeah, and I was expecting one of the characters in Philadelphia to go, "No!"
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like they're trapped in a dome, and no one can go in, but nobody can go out.
Yeah, no one can get in, no one can get out, but it never occurs to the people of Philadelphia to just dig tunnels and then, like, get out the other way.
Yeah.
Like, why does no one do that?
Yeah.
But I guess maybe there's, like, sewage or pipelines nobody wants to deal with.
That's true as well.
Yeah, but it never occurs to any of the people in Philadelphia, just, like, dig out and then just get out.
Well, also, it is filled with, buildings and construction, so digging it would also probably do some property damage to a degree.
Yeah, that's true. Or maybe they could have gotten a Justice League member like Superman to help them out.
It's magic. That dome is magic.
Okay, then we would need John Constantine or Zatanna or one of the other magic users to help them out.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that dome is magic. magic. Superman will not be able to help because he's not good against magic.
Well, he could just punch his way through the ground and then get, out from underneath and then, hey, everybody, go through the tunnel.
Again, property damage.
This movie, it's so frustrating, but I mean, Yeah, so they put a dome over Philadelphia, but it doesn't go chaotic. Like, everyone's all peaceful about it.
Yeah, because it's like, it's a dome, no one could go in, no one could go out, but you could probably survive if not.
But you would think thered be, like, total anarchy amongst the citizens,
Yeah, you got enough, some things in there to survive before things get too chaotic, because again, it's like day one, basically. Like, it didn't go too long, basically.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but I was kind of expecting people to get all, like, anarchy and crazy and just, like, burning buildings down, but that didn't happen. But I guess they can't show everything, and I guess they didn't want to do anything too gritty, because even though DC's known for their grittiness, I guess they just didn't want to get too gritty.
Not yet. And then, of course, we get to the jail scene with Wizard and Freddy.
And he keeps mistaking Freddy for, like, Jeff, and there are some points where he gets the name right, but then he just, like, flip-flops back and forth. It's like, grr.
It's like, oh, yeah, Billy, or not Billy, it was like Fruiter. It was like something to do with an F, and then it was Jeff, and then it got to Freddy, and then went back to Jeff as a joke, whatever the case may be. But it's like going back and forth. Because at first he didn't care, then he started to care.
Yeah, and for some reason, I just did not like the Wizard's cranky personality at points in this movie. Like, he got better as time went on throughout the movie, but I just don't like his cranky, very, like, intimidating personality. Yeah, and it was present in the first movie, too, because, like, the first time I saw the Wizard, it was in one of the animated adaptations. He was a very kind, very welcoming man. He didn't do this entire intimidation, cranky factor. But the actor that plays him, Digimon Hoosen, or however you say his name, he plays it up a bit with the crankiness and the intimidation factor. And it's like, you're scaring people, you're not being all wise like you should be.
Yeah, I guess in terms of, in this film, it's like, what the heck are we supposed to do against against the goddess is here?
Yeah, that's true. And so, like, okay, he basically, like, he does help out the characters, so I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of frustrating. It's just kind of frustrating to me that, like, he's still frustrating. It's very frustrating to me that he's very, like, cranky at first, but then he, like, gets better as time goes on.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just trying to figure out what exactly the writing team was thinking of when they wrote this.
And of course, speaking of writing team, the letter.
Oh yeah, there's this really cheesy scene in the movie.
Yeah,
where they're writing this negotiation letter with the goddesses. But go ahead, because this was so.
This was very, very cheesy to beyond belief, because this was, imagine if like a group of kids were writing something down for an essay or like a writing letter, but everyone was going at their own discretion, basically.
Yeah, if they fired it up on Google Drive, and then there was like a bunch of arguing, and then they like typed all whatever they could,
and then they submitted it right away to the professor, thinking, okay, it's done. And so it's like, alrighty. So it's like, all right, goddesses, here's what we want. And
violence is not the answer.
I think that's good, right? Is that good? Yeah, I think it's good. All right, we want to negotiate here. That sounds right? Okay, yeah. So give us Freddy, and there won't be it, and then free the city off the bubbles. Okay, yeah. What else, guys? What else do we need? Oh yeah, and this thing. So
and then we need this thing, and that thing, and that thing. And when they read it out, when the goddesses read it out, I'm just like, like I was just like, ugh.
It's like that. You also got the couple of like some other comedy thing, and I remember one recent one with South Park where it's or one of the, not even just with South Park. It's one of those also where like a troll would type like a name down.
It's like if a troll did all this really fast typing.
Yeah.
And then they published it.
And they published it. Yes, so it's like a message. She's reading everything, and it's just like, oh my god. Okay, just read the first part, and that's the message, because everything else is junk.
Yeah, I didn't know whether to laugh or cringe when watching that scene.
I think everybody was laughing in the theater, though, including myself. It was.
Yeah, and I was on the brink of it, but I just was like trying to hold it back, because this was so. I was like, this is so cheesy. This is so cheeky. This is just.
And Freddy, I think Freddy too was just like, oh god.
Yeah, this is the most tongue-in-cheek moment in the entire DC cinematic universe. Yeah. I'm not even kidding.
The letter sequence, and of course, Calypso was like, "What is this?" And it's like, you heard the letter, you know?
Yeah, and it's not just that. The whole film is full of tongue-in-the-cheek moments. Yeah. Like, there's this one moment that's extremely tongue-in-the-cheek, you know?
Yeah.
It's where Billy Batson, he has this, like, dream about Wonder Woman dating her in Paris, which makes sense because she lives in France. It's established in the cinematic universe. Mm. But he's on this date with her, and just as she's about to rock away, because in his dream he's like, I don't know if I want to commit, but we can like kiss and make up or whatever. And he puts like this mint breath or whatever. He's like chewing it. And I'm just, oh jeez.
Well, I mean, he has. Like probably some guys too. You know, you have some affection towards Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and then he wakes up, and I heard someone in the back of the theater go, "This is Billy's wet dream." I seriously heard someone say that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this is so tongue in the cheek. But then again, it also reminded me of something, and DC is extremely guilty of this, is like, whenever DC does something adult, you know, they always find a way to make it where you feel uncomfortable, you know? They always do this. Yeah. They do this in Batman the Killing Joke. Only that scene was extremely controversial.
Well, of course, right before that, you know, that thing came out, the Wizard came in with...
Oh, I'm surprised no one in the theater, like, screamed in fear, like, ah! I'm surprised no one did that, because it didn't look bad. It looked better than, like, if you saw how, you know, in Thor Love and Thunder with the floating head and how it didn't look rendered well. Yep. Well, the Wizard said it looked better than that. It really did, but I'm surprised no one in the theater screamed in fear over that scene, because it was like, ah!
What are you talking about? Shazam took care of that.
I mean, just, and then, of course, like, even Shazam's freaking out about it, and it's like, no one in the theater screamed, and, like, he's like, oh, I regret making you the champion. You shouldn't have these powers.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, though, that sequence. Of course, that was way earlier in the film.
Yeah, and I mean, tongue-in-cheek is the word of the day with this movie.
Also, we also gotta say that Freddy, for some reason, is able to withstood chaos magic to a degree.
Yeah, like
his power.
Yeah, I was kind of like, maybe there's a revelation, a really bad revelation, that he's this like undiscovered chosen one, or he comes from a lineage that I didn't know about. You know?
Yeah, because it's like because he was able to at least resist its temptations a little bit. Because he was starting to lose control of it a little bit by announcing one name, which is Billy, which is the main guy.
Yeah, and I'm surprised, like, he didn't give in to this after all the struggling. Like, he couldn't take the pain anymore, you know?
Yeah, like, it was like slipping a little bit, but of course, you know, like, he was resisting a little bit, and of course, Calypso was like, how the frick are you able to resist this?
Yeah, and I'm like...
But of course, Esper was like, oh, I guess she is, you know, somewhat resistant to it.
I will give Freddy some credit, though. He did handle this He handled this a lot better than Joey Wheeler did. Because you remember when Joey Wheeler got blasted by the winged dragon of Ra?
Oh, yeah,
and then,
burn, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's still standing, and Merrick's like, how did you resist that? I'll lose my God card now! And of course, you think he's going to win, but he eventually collapses from the pain.
Yeah, from the pain and exhaustion, because it's like every single ounce of like fiery, burning pain, fury was just not physically, well, I guess physically, but in like every ounce of his body was just like, in retrospect, pain, like a shock factor, basically.
Yeah, and Freddy handled it a lot better than Joey Wheeler did.
Yeah, although I would imagine Joey, you know, he had the pain linger a little bit longer than Freddy did.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, that scene was really well done in Yu-Gi-Oh! And here it's like, I was just kind of expecting them to have some kind of revelation about how he could withstand it, but they never went that route.
Also, by the way, if there is a little bit of a difference, because between sub, which is Japanese, and dub, which is Americanized a little bit, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! In the Americanized, which most of us saw in the American, it felt like he was unconscious, basically like in a coma, basically. Where in the sub version, or the Japanese version, they made it sound like he died.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, it was like, sub was like, oh my god, he's dead! And the dub version, or the Americanized version, it's like, oh crap, he's unconscious.
Oh yeah, because like you see in like when he's still standing, you see in his mind, and Yugi's trying to pull him back or something. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there you go.
Yeah, you also got Kaiba, who acts somewhat differently, but not completely.
Yeah, in the dub, I remember he was like surprised. He's like, "How could he withstand all this?"
Yeah, it's like he's able to resist this, and of course, and Kaiba was like, he beat a god. Because it's like, yeah, Joey did beat a god. I mean, he technically did beat a god. He beat Raw.
Yeah, and if Joey had, actually beaten Merrick and, like, actually withstand all that and, like, actually, got out of the pain, then Kaiba would have been like, well, Joey, I may have, been mean to you, but after seeing this, maybe we should have a little talk.
I don't think he would have. He would have been.
But that would have been an interesting what if they went that route.
I think he would have been like, I can't.
Like he feels intimidated and threatened. Like, oh crap, this guy could beat me. I'm not gonna lose my blue eyes over this.
Or Obelisk. He would have lost Obelisk.
Yeah, I'm not losing my god card over this. I'm not giving you my blue eyes. You're not taking my mascot card.
And it's just like, oh god. If he would have beat Merrick, of course, that would have lost all the whole trope of Merrick's dark side, basically.
Yeah, and it probably would have killed the storyline that they were going for. But that would have been an interesting what if they had.
It would have been just because it would have been because it would have been like, oh, and a person without any affiliation beats a god.
Yeah. I mean, they could have revealed, like, oh, he's part of a secret lineage that we didn't know about. And that would have been an interesting reveal had they gone that route.
See, they did that with Kaiba.
Oh, yeah, I like what they did with Season 5, but I never saw Season 5 in its entirety. I just know a little bit of that.
Yeah, they revealed that. And they also explained why Kaiba's such, affection towards Blue Eyes. They did reveal that a little bit.
Yeah, I think they teased that in the abridged series, which I saw more than the official dub. Yeah. But, yeah, I can see how it connects to Freddy a little bit with the resisting of the power, but hang on a sec, folks. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of like went off a bit on the Yu-Gi-Oh thing there.
Yep, going back to Freddy being very much resisting chaos magic, and then of course,
it was Anthena, or however you say her name.
I think Anne. They shortened it up to Anne or something like that. She steps in because she was basically also too worried about Freddy, so she stepped in to try to stop it. Of course, then the letter came in, which stopped the chaos magic, and then they were about to throw it at him again, and then she stepped in to stop it, and they're like, okay, fine, let's just throw in the pit.
Oh yeah. By the way, the way they write the Anne character in this film, like she starts off going along with the plan that the sisters got, but then she's like, no, I can't do this. I'm not that evil. Like, if you ever played Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, it's very much similar to the relationship that Bianca had with the sorceress. Yeah. Like, if you ever played the game or saw footage of it, it's very similar to that.
Yeah, or some other games, too, where it's like you have this one person had an affection with the, supposedly on the evil side, but then that person, got a little bit more affectionate, and they're like, I can't be that evil, because, they like that person in particular.
Yeah, and like even Hesperon, she was playing along with it, but then she's like, "We can't do this. This is not good."
Well, Hesperon was like, she was still like, "Okay, let's just still get the apple. We're doing this just because of this reasoning per se." So she went along with the idea of trying to revive, getting the apple back, getting their powers back, but for different reasonings, basically. And then that's where the whole, the whole discourse happened, or we're starting to commence, basically. So
yeah, like, with their evil plan, it started off with them, like, stealing the powers of all the kids, because they felt like the powers weren't given to the right people, so they take them all away. But then it's revealed, okay, they take the powers away, I'm guessing because they want these kids depowered when they take over. So they go after this, like, apple that's, like, hidden in the Rock of Eternity.
Yep, the golden apple, basically.
Yeah,
which will sprout back up like the tree or something like that.
The tree of life or whatever.
Yeah, the tree of life.
So Calypso, like, actually gets the apple and plants it in a baseball field. Yep. Not making this up.
Yep, in a baseball field, yep. Because, again, chaos and stuff like that. But before all that, because then first Freddy and the wizard got out, but that was due to Anne. trying to say get out that way.
Oh yeah, there's this scene where they're like all talking about what they're gonna do, and so Freddy basically tells the wizard, "I'm gonna have to sneak up on them because when you sneak up, your knees crack and stuff." And
and he does that, and it's like, that's loud. So then he does that while the sneak happening. That's when the discourse begins between the three goddesses, or mainly it's 2v1 in this case per se, where it's just like basically Calypso was like, "Oh, we're gonna plant it in the human world." And was like, "No, we all said we were going to plant it in this realm." And Espero was like, "Yeah, I thought the agreement was supposed to be in this realm and not..."
And then Calypso's like, "Oh, no. We're going to plant it somewhere and cause some destruction. And we'll rebuild the world however we want."
Because she wanted revenge, basically. For, she's like, they trust in the humans and they demonize us or whatever. We're going to get revenge on them. It's like, no... We were supposed to bring it here, and Espero's like, "Yeah, bring it here."
Yeah,
that was the plan.
Yeah, and as they're doing this, they're having their discourse. Freddy's like sneaking around. He's surprisingly really good at it too, especially with the handicap thing he has to have on him.
Well, yeah, he was surprisingly good until of course, the cheesy, cheesy cliche of "You're doing so well, you got the thing." Last second.
Yeah,
alarm goes off.
Yeah, he picks up the apple because nothing goes wrong. But then he knocks over the thing that was holding the apple, and they're like, "What?" And they see him, and I'm just like, "Jah!" I seriously did that in the theater. I was like, "Jah!" But I didn't go groaning because I didn't want people to hear me.
Well, it's like the cheesy, stereotypical trope of the sneaky success. Oh wait, you set up the alarm last second.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got a Raiders vibe out of that, where Indiana Jones, he gets the golden idol, but then the trap is set off, and he's like, "Ah!" And then he starts running away.
Either that or any other, spy movie or whatever, where it's like,
"Yeah,
I got the thing," and then you step out, it's like, beep, beep. It's like, of course.
Yeah, anything in that genre, and I'm just like, "Ah!" I mean, dude.
It's like, oh. And you set up the alarm. And now they know it's you. Now, and you are crippled, so you can't run away.
Yeah. By the way, the throne room that the goddesses sit in, I was getting some Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter vibes out of that throne room. The way they did all the fantasy stuff, it just feels like I've seen it.
I don't know about Harry Potter. I don't know about Harry Potter. Maybe Lord of the Rings, but not so much Harry Potter. It
just felt similar to other fantasy stuff that I've seen before.
That's probably some other fantasy stuff. I was like, the throne rooms, I was like, no, maybe some Olympus or God or realms or something like that.
It just felt, but it just felt similar to stuff I've seen before. It was the brown colors that gave me Hogwarts vibes.
That throne room gives me no Harry Potter vibe because I'm like, there's no throne room or that sitting like that per se.
I was just trying to figure out what it was, similar to. Oh, and by the way, the goddesses have a dragon in this movie, a big, scary dragon. It's not really scary, but it's a big one.
Oh, it's a wood dragon.
It's a what?
Wood dragon, because Shazam even mentioned it at least once or twice.
You thought it was a wood dragon. I did not get any wood vibes out of that thing. It's serious. I don't know what
Shazam just even said it too when he got the thing by the tail. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're a wood dragon." It's like,
I must have missed that because I seriously thought the dragon did not look like wood. I don't even know what it was made out of. It looked like. I don't know. I just don't know what it looked like. I was not getting wood.
Yeah, well, I mean, Shazam was like, "Oh yeah, you're made of wood," which is a weird flex, in a sense.
Yeah, and it's the dragon in this movie, the way they shoot some of the sequences with the dragon, it looks derivative of other dragon things that I've seen.
It looked more, I would say, demonic or undead looking, I would say. Even though it is, like Shazam said, it is a wood dragon. But the design of it looked like it was okay, you were supposed to be undead or chaotic evil in a sense dragon. Plus you do have blue hellfire coming out.
It looked like the kind of thing Kratos would fight in God of War,
Probably, or any other Dungeons and Dragons vibe, basically.
I was not getting any Dungeons and Dragons vibes out of this thing.
Well, I guess maybe not, but I'm like, okay, you got wood, dragon, demonic looking. Any other dragons you could probably fight in any other medieval Dungeons and Dragons or anything kind of trope.
Yeah, and the dragon does only get, I think it only gets one major destructive scene where they throw it through a skyscraper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Like, Billy, you should not have done that.
Well, he burns a few things up.
Like, if Superman was there during the battle, he would have told Shazam, hey, take the fight outside of the city, man. You're going to get some people killed. Because I'm pretty sure there were people in that skyscraper when they threw the dragon through it.
Probably. Or maybe he got lucky with... maybe he got lucky.
There must have been some people in that skyscraper. There's no way it was
There
vacant.
probably some casualties, but at least, I mean, again, the building didn't collapse entirely.
Yeah. Actually, I did want to point out, when they plant the golden apple, because they steal the golden apple.
Well, it was kind of like a chase sequence, actually, if you want to think about it. Because at first, again, back at the throne room, first Freddy got it, then Shazam came out of nowhere and, took the staff, and then they got the apple, and then they were like, okay, time to run.
Yeah, but anyway, they get the apple, they plant it in a baseball field, which Calypso says is an ideal place to start a garden, which I'm like...
Sarcasm a little bit. It's supposed to some sort of like sarcastic joke a little bit because it is a baseball field.
I guess.
Because it is a field,
But I don't know why it never occurred to the goddesses to like plant this apple in Greece. And then they could start rebuilding everything in Greece. Because as soon as they plant the apple, all these mythical creatures like come in these pods that look like the pumpkin pods from Medieval.
Yeah.
Like if you ever played Medieval, there's these like pumpkin pods that are bright glowing green. They look like that especially when they're connected to the vines.
Yeah.
So anyway, they plant it, and out of the ground like sprouts harpies, chimeras, minotaurs, cyclops.
Yep.
They seriously could have planted this in Greece, and it would have made a little more sense.
Yeah, but this is Calypso. She's chaos, basically. Doesn't matter where she plants it.
I guess she didn't think of planting it in Greece. I don't know. Needed something quick, I guess.
Again, it doesn't matter to her. She said, I'll plant it here.
Yeah, and so as the monsters are all sprouting out of the ground and they're like going all crazy and attacking people, you see the vines like go throughout Philadelphia and they're causing destruction.
Yep.
It kind of looks like that scene in Justice League when like there's these like I don't know what they were, but they're like these crystal like things. They're sprouting out of the ground. They're cylinder and they're like spreading all over the place. I was getting some Justice League vibes out of that. Not the Snyder Cut version.
Yeah, no. I don't know, because the whole vine thing, it's like, there's also some other sequence, too, that I'm also kind of getting as well. I'm trying to remember.
And the other thing that really frustrated me about the vines was, like, they stop in Philadelphia and do not expand their range. Like, they don't do that. It's like, that would have added a nice ticking clock element to stopping the bad guys. It's like, if you don't get this done within like this amount of time, the whole world's going to be covered in this, and there's going to be like death and destruction everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's like, it just spreads to through all of Philadelphia. Man, this was a really bad apple to plant.
Or, even and kind of reference it too. You know how she looked at the apple and Esper kind of agree with her too. Like, it was not planted in the right spot or not in the right area, which is why it didn't look too shining or healthy per se, you could say.
I think I may have missed that dialogue.
This was during her discourse with Calypso, because remember, this was like when she was trying to confront and convince Espera to join their side, and they joined the side of, okay, let's just take this apple and put it back to where we want it to be instead of doing this chaos, basically.
Like, they could have done that, put it in the original spot, and maybe it would have grown out, but I guess she didn't think of it.
Well, Calypso was more on the chaos side of it and revenge, not Espera and Anne. They were going for the other route, basically. Calypso was more content on destruction and revenge.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, okay.
It didn't care for what happened.
Okay, if you're this chaotic and this destructive, you are nowhere near as chaotic as General Zod was in Man of Steel. Because in Man of Steel, he gets really destructive by, blowing up Metropolis with the World Engine. Yeah. Then he and Superman are, colliding with skyscrapers. Yeah. Even Doomsday got destructive. But it's like, maybe they didn't want to get too destructive because they were afraid people were going to do that, too much destruction criticism again. But if the bad guys do it, it's okay. When the good guys do it, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, so it was the discourse of that, basically, which is why the tree didn't, again, they mentioned like it's not looking too great basically because you planted in the wrong place or something like that.
Yeah, there was no green on it, or maybe there was a little green, but too faint. It looked more brown.
Yeah, it was like the brown vibe and stuff like that, which again, probably why the tree didn't grow all the way and why the tree wasn't completely up and sprung and stuff like that. And you also got, you know, all these creatures acting all crazy and stuff like that too.
Yeah. Oh, there's another creature that emerges too. It's these unicorns that can like stop all the monsters or round them up.
Oh yeah, because while they're in the whole like, okay, let's try this again, basically in another way. All right. What's the most fierce of creatures? Steve wrote unicorns. Like.
Yeah, and you're like, what?
Yeah, because it's like I'm like. Why unicorns? In any other trope, most tropes, they're colorful, rainbow, you know, like white, colorful, all that stuff. Most unicorns are that way.
Yeah, I mean, but the wizard's like, oh, it's not what you guys came up with. The real unicorns are a lot different when compared to this.
Yeah, because like they're not those ponies that you guys came up with or whatever. They're nothing. They're much more dangerous. And then the innocent girl was like, no, I got an idea with with these unicorns and stuff like that.
We gotta talk about this
and
scene.
That's where the advertisement comes in.
Yeah, so they find a unicorn bursting out of a pod in this like bark and really dark area.
Yep.
And so when the unicorn is in the dark, it looks great. The special effect looks really great when it's in the dark.
It did look like a very ferocious creature, though. I would say that. Actually, it kind of looked like one of the unicorns. There was this old mobile game, actually. It was like Rainbow Unicorn, like Rush or Attack or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I think Adult Swim advertised that a lot.
Adult Swim advertised it. And they made the second one out of it back in like during that middle school days. I downloaded that, and I made something very similar to that unicorn that they did.
Oh, you really should have sued these guys for copyright infringement if that was your design.
Yeah, actually, want me to show you it right now, actually, real quick?
No, you don't have to do that.
But probably after this, I'll show you, though. But yeah, it was actually kind of funny. Now I'm thinking about like that's something I would have made in terms of a dark unicorn.
If they seriously ripped off a design from you, you really should have sued for copyright infringement.
Yeah, I'll show you after this clip though.
Oh jeez. But anyway, so I'm going to describe the scene for you guys. So they go to this like dark, very hollow and barky tree area.
Yeah.
And so the unicorn, when it's in the dark, like I said, it looks great as a special effect. But when it comes out in the daylight, you can tell it's all digital. But anyway, they see it. It's a bit ferocious. But then...
last second...
yeah, Darla gets out this pack of Skittles. I'm not exaggerating this. She gets out a pack of Skittles and throws it out. And then there's this, like, slow-motion Zack Snyder moment.
Yep. And then it stopped. And then it's like... and then she said... taste the rainbows. It's like
yeah, and then I went in the theater like this is a Skittles ad. This is a downright Skittles ad. This is product placement. I'm like
Well, yeah, because it's like color the rainbows, taste the rainbows.
Yeah, I was expecting the Skittles logo and the way those ads end to show up. It's like this is the most blatant product placement I have ever seen in a movie.
Oh, don't worry. Wait till after a few months or so, and then when the clips are actually don't get demonetized or whatever, somebody will slap a Skittles advertisement on top of this.
They might as well do that.
Cause somebody will. Some YouTuber will do that.
Or maybe this is the ad, and they're going to put it out on the TVs and kind of change it around a bit, or something. And it's like, could you be more product placement? Could you like spell it out for the audience so much? It's just
It's kind of funny how she used the color of rainbows in the Skittles for this unicorn because that's how everybody views unicorns.
I mean, if you're going to make the scene more product placement and cheesier, you might as well just throw in the M&M characters, and they could have shown up and be like had a conflict with like product placement or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
they use the Skittles as food and stuff like that. Yeah. And of course, an army of unicorns comes out, and of course, every single mythical creatures were like, oh, run away! There are unicorns coming!
Yeah, it's like, this is the most. This scene is so baffling to me.
And also,
like,
the girl went, eat Skittle or eat rainbow, mother.
Yeah, like they do this like PG-13 bleep out the F word, which is a big cliche in and of itself. They do it in so many movies, and it's like, we doing it again?
Yeah.
And by the way, when they round up the unicorns to like round up all the creatures and stuff, if you ever read The Dark Knight Returns, there's this scene where Batman and the sons of Batman and one of the Robins, they're on these horses and they're rounding up everybody while Gotham's like in chaos and stuff. I was getting Dark Knight Returns vibes out of that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you do that. Get away with something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Skittles ad is just one of the most baffling product placement scenes I have ever seen in a movie.
Also kind of funny too, before all that happened too, the kids made the announcement to their parents like, oh yeah, we're superheroes.
Yeah, and then one of them shouts, I'm gay. But there's nothing surprising about that because there's a scene in the beginning where he's looking through a magazine and he sees like a football player who's like shirtless and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we're just revealing this now? Because in the last movie, there was nothing to establish that the character was gay. But now it's like, we're just throwing it out there?
And I guess they also kind of were like, yeah, dude, we kind of knew that. It's like, I don't think anybody else in the audience knows that. But also at the same time, it's like, oh, I guess you guys are kind of moving on from it quickly, you know? So it's so it's not too emphasized.
I will give the scene credit, though. I mean, at least, you know, they didn't make such a big deal out of it. It felt kind of cheesy natural, but not...
It was like the cheesy natural, and then just move along, basically, because they got bigger issues at hand.
Yeah, but the other issue I have with that little moment is, like, the 5-second cliche, where, like, Disney's done this a lot, where Disney throws in, like, references to LGBT couples, but it's only in there for, like, 5 seconds. And I've seen this in, like, Eternals and Lightyear. They put that in there, but it's only in there for, like, 5 seconds. And it looks like they're doing this again here. But I know Disney's not running the production, it's Warner.
Yeah, Warner Brothers and not Disney. And Disney would have probably done it for a lot longer, too, especially that's... You know.
No, Disney would not have done it longer. They would have done their 5-second rule either way.
Yeah.
But it's like...
I know they kind of go back and forth on it, though. They kind of do.
Lately
they have.
I have not seen too many of their movies to like know that, but I know they're putting it in their movies a lot. But yeah, with this, it's like there was no build up to this of any kind in the first movie. They just throw it in there, but I don't have an issue with it. It's just why is it in there for only like 5 seconds? You're doing the 5-second cliche, and it's just ugh.
Yeah. But again, they move along with it quickly, like it's again like a natural, you know, kind of like okay, you know, we are kind of new to this. Thank you. Okay, now let's get back to bigger issues at hand, which is a dragon that's going to be coming up from underneath you.
Yeah, like they summon the dragon, and then obviously Calypso rides on the dragon, and she's getting all destructive and chaos and stuff.
Yep.
For some reason or another, like I don't mind the actresses that played the goddesses. I actually thought they did a pretty good job, all three of them. So I had no issue with that. I had no issue with any of the actors in this movie. Yeah. I thought the acting was very well done. But I would have liked it if, like, Lucy Liu, who plays Calypso, had gone a little over the top. Oh. You know? I would have liked it if this movie, because we were pointing out all the cheesy moments in this, I would have preferred it if she went over the top and just went so crazy, and they gave her a massive paycheck for that, and we would have just been so entertained by it. Yeah. Like, when she's on the back of the dragon and she's got the staff, she should have done, "Let their blood rain from the sky!" Like, she could have done that. And smiling and cackling and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Calypso and stuff like that, but...
Or she could have done where she's like, "Ha ha, yes! You think you can escape the chaos of Calypso, but you'll never get away!" Or something like that. Like, have her go crazy.
Somewhat similar to that, though. She kind of did, even not too crazy. Although when Shazam run away, because after he was like, "Oh wait, that stuff is doing it like a battery," runs away. She's like, "That's right, run." It's like, oh.
Yeah, but that wasn't crazy enough. Or maybe when she's like gaining some victories, you know, and she's causing all the chaos and destruction. I would have liked it if she went, and then it's like more destruction going on. She's like, but then like as she's starting to lose, you know, she goes, "Ah!" Like she gives out this really kind of scream, like frustrated scream that she's losing. Or maybe they could film it really close, where she like goes, "Yeah!" Or something like that, you know? I just screamed in my house right there.
Yeah, I think that's been like that for the last few minutes.
Yeah, but it's like, they could have gone over the top with her a bit. Like, they could have gone her go crazy.
Yeah, a little bit right there.
I don't know what they could have done, but they could have done something.
But anyway, so they're all trying to save people. Unicorn comes out. Then you also got Freddy kind of chasing down Anne, even though Anne did lose her power for a brief bit.
Yeah, they take away her powers, but I'm surprised Calypso didn't think to kill her. Because, like, Hespera dies from, like, a stab.
Yep, the dragon did stab.
Yeah, the dragon stabs Hespera, but I'm surprised Calypso didn't think to kill Anne. Like, she takes the powers away, and then she does this Avada Kedavra kind of thing and kills her.
Well, I mean, again, she was. I think she was like, okay, if you're gonna play, if you're gonna favor humans, you are gonna be human. But then, of course, and teleport herself or mirror dimension herself away. But I guess the lightning was still chasing after her.
It would have been made the movie dark and gritty if like she just had killed all her sisters. But I guess they don't want to have an R rating or get too crazy.
Well, you also don't want to get rid of that whole love trope too quickly or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And then Freddy would have been like, ah! When she died.
Yeah.
And then he, like, goes ballistic. That would have been, like, really crazy to see if they had gone that route.
Yeah. But again, he chased her down. Then, of course, the dragon pops back up. And she was about to kill her with the dragon using chaos or whatever, with that dragon roar or whatever.
Yeah.
But then he was strong enough to kind of, he was, I guess, mindfully strong enough to kind of like push on through to get to her, basically. And she was like, how the frick are you still able to get through my chaos magic?
Yeah, and then of course Shazam gets the tail of the dragon.
And that's where the whole, like I mentioned to you, he mentioned the wood dragon. It's like, or the dragon made of wood. It's like, okay, I got you. But for some reason, it's like, but you're made of wood, which is kind of a weird flex.
Yeah, actually, the final What was that?
Siri. For some reason, it does that from time to time.
Oh, we just activated Siri in one of our videos. I'm sorry if Siri got to talk about it, but that's okay.
Yep.
Anyway, we got... Okay. So basically, the final battle of this movie, it's basically, they're fighting in the baseball field.
Basically, it got to the point to where baseball field vibe, and then...
I don't know...
But before that, Shazam went to go Hespera. He was like, oh crap, no, you did. And then he's like...
Yeah, he does this defibrillator kind of technique, which actually works because it's magic.
Funny enough, because even though he didn't say Shazam, but he went, clear?
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, you should have let me die in the afterlife or something like that.
So why couldn't he just let me... why could he just let me die? I got stabbed, look.
Yeah, you would think she would be dead, but no, it's magic and defibrillator, and I guess...
Worked for a little bit, and of course they were like, okay, and it's like, okay, we gotta do this. It's like, no, it's impossible. And it's like, but what if I could take the staff and charge it up? And it's like a bomb? But that would be, you would blow up everybody within the vicinity. And he's like, okay, then how about this then? And then, which she agreed to basically, which again, got the staff into the baseball field, and then that's where he's like, basically entrapping her, which Hespera was like, okay, turn the bubble, shrink the bubble all the way, and I was like, oh, I see what you're doing.
But I kind of thought like Hespera was gonna die when she was shrinking the bubble, and the job's only like halfway complete.
Yeah, but remember
they kind of do that when they shrink it to just the baseball field.
Shrink it to just the baseball field, and she was just outside of it too, so Calypso couldn't burn her alive.
Yeah,
but again, like she said, as long as I'm still breathing, the bubble still stands.
Yeah, and eventually, she does succeed. But I was going to say this about the baseball fight, where he's just fighting the dragon in the baseball field with Calypso,
Yep.
Oh, just hang on a sec. Small message, guys. But yeah, like, she's like, okay, they're fighting in the baseball field. I don't know why, but the scene gave me Godzilla King of the Monsters vibes. When Godzilla, beams Ghidorah in the baseball field in Boston.
I don't know.
The set looks so similar to it.
I don't know. That time around, going back to your Harry Potter sort of comparison a little bit.
Oh, are we
Goblet of Fire?
Goblet of Fire comparison? Yep. I did not get that at all.
There was a little bit of that with the whole him flying around and the dragon chasing after him a little bit. Goblet of Fire.
Oh yeah. But I seriously did not get Goblet of Fire vibes out of that.
It was just a tiny bit, a little bit. Not so much, but it was a tiny little bit just with the Goblet of Fire sequence.
With the way the director handled some of these sequences, they might as well just have him do a Wizarding World movie.
Sort of. They sort of did that. Anyways, though. But of course, again, I kind of saw what the trope was basically kind of building up to, though. And of course, he was like, I have. And it's like, you're supposed to be out of here. No, I'm going to have to do this. And I'm like, okay, I know what you're about to do. And of course, again, built up this lightning, the staff, into a nuclear explosion of lightning bolt, basically.
Yeah, it was just kind of hard. It was just kind of hard to follow, really, what was going on throughout a lot of this sequence.
For me, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. Because again, they referenced it a couple times, like, okay, built up the thing to be super explosive, but then that will blow up the entire thing. Okay, you condense it because the bubble, nothing can get out of it, basically.
Yeah,
so
you actually see the bubble like go past some people, and they're not harmed.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted a reaction where they're like, "I'm not harmed. Wow, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, I know. I mean, the guy kind of felt like that way, but I was like, oh, okay.
But then there's a small sequence where like the vines are growing through, and the woman's about to get stabbed, but then she doesn't. And she's like, "Oh, I'm still alive. That's pretty cool."
She did get killed by the Chimera, though.
Yeah, the Chimera attack.
Yep. Anyways, though. But again, when the bubble shrunk to that point in the baseball field, I'm like, oh, okay. Condensed explosion.
Yeah, it was just kind of hard to follow that scene a bit because,
until last moment.
I mean, I didn't really have too much of an issue with the final battle, but it just kind of felt like I had seen this in Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, the way this scene was directed.
Yeah.
Speaking of which
gets to the ending of the fight where he gets in, he stabs the dragon. He says Shazam at the end with the whole staff being fully charged.
But before that, he gets scorched by the dragon. At least I think he gets scorched. Does he get scorched by the blue fire?
Well, he got burned a few times, but that doesn't what kills him.
Well, it burns off the red on his suit, and then it becomes a black suit,
Yeah.
And then the way they shoot this scene where he's flying like this towards the dragon, and the way they shoot this sequence, it is so Snyder cut.
Yeah.
It looks like the black suit Superman scenes from the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
And then I was just getting huge Snyder cut vibes out of this scene.
Then of course at the end he again stabs the dragon to the tree and then says Shazam with the staff fully charged and the entire bubble fully electrifying basically to the point where it's so condensed with lightning energy to where zaps down really hard and then of course explosion just explodes basically, which again with the bubble being condensed and stopping everything from going out, it blows up the baseball field basically. But everyone's still safe, but the baseball field is
because they condense the bubble and stuff like that.
So
I don't know, it's just kind of hard to follow this sequence a bit.
But again, I was like, okay, you sacrificed yourself, you blew up her, and you blew up her, and you blew yourself up. Basically, it's like the whole take the bomb, go into the base, and defeat the final boss or whatever, enemy or whatever, via you go in, boom, everything blows up.
Yeah, the way you've described it, I mean, the sequence is just kind of hard to follow and even remember, but the way you're describing it, it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
I guess really it's just the way they were shooting these action sequences. They felt so similar to Man of Steel and anything Zack Snyder did, which again, that's why I think Zack Snyder, I don't know if he ghost directed this or not, but it seriously feels like Zack Snyder moments. And as soon as he defeats the bad guy, he's scorched and dead.
But you're you're kind of questioning it too, wait, is he actually dead? I'm like, oh yeah, he's dead. He's scorched.
I said this in the theater. I thought he was actually gonna, come back from all this. He's not really dead, just maybe injured a bit. But I thought he really wasn't dead.
I know.
But then he's actually dead, and I'm like, wait, seriously?
Yeah, I knew he was dead because I was like, bro, it's for me, keep referencing. It's the whole sacrifice for the sacrifice go in, bomb explodes.
Yeah, and as soon as they said he's dead, it dawned on me what this scene was copying, and I just realized what it was copying. This copies the death of Superman from Batman v Superman. And I turned to you in the theater and this is out of Batman and Superman all over again.
I mean, again, once I told you, yeah, he's dead. He scorched himself, basically. Because you're like, wait, he's dead? I'm like, yeah, he's dead. He scorched himself. He scorched himself with that giant lightning bolt and everything else like that.
Yeah,
and then of course, Esper was like, yeah, that is what a true God would do. And then she disappeared. Bubble disappeared.
Yeah, and the way they fade away, it's almost like Thanos snapped them out of existence.
Well, it's kind of like the ash or something like that, too. Because, again, it's like...
But
Bubble disappear. The Calypso's dead body disappear along with the dragon.
Yeah, but the way they shoot the death sequence and they're all mourning him and stuff.
Yep.
It seriously was Batman v Superman.
Would you stop talking, Siri?
Sorry about that. Anyway, it seriously felt like it came out of Batman v Superman. It was Batman v Superman all over again.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in Batman v Superman, I didn't like that scene because it just wasn't sad because you knew Superman was going to come back in the next movie. And it just feel like them cramming the death of Superman into that movie just didn't feel right. Yeah. But here it's like we're doing the scene all over again. It's like I saw this already. I don't need to see it again.
Which then they kind of bring up a little bit like, okay, what are we going to do with the staff? It's like, well, the staff cannot be activated unless a god, does it. And as far as I know, there is no god. And then of course.
Well, before you get to that. The funeral scene also had Batman v Superman vibes, but not too much. Like when they do the funeral of Superman, they're having this little funeral for him, and they got, of course, the symbol painted in the ground. Yeah. No headstone for some reason, but I guess they didn't have any time or money to make one.
Yeah, or whatever the case may be.
But as soon as this is going on with this, you said, like you were about to say, there's no gods that could potentially revive this guy. And as soon as the wizard says that, they play a familiar theme, and of course...
Well, before the theme came up, she says, there's one. And of course I was like, where the heck have you been? I was expecting you during the climax, not the aftermath.
In case you did not see the TV spot that spoiled this, Wonder Woman is in this movie, but for a small amount of screen time.
Yep.
Not the entire movie.
Yeah. Wonder Woman did pop up, at the end, basically. And I was like, where the heck have you been? I thought you were going to be in the fight against these other, the goddess, because it says Greek. This is your realm.
Yeah, she shows up, and then she grabs the staff, and because she's a demigod and has the power of Zeus, using the power, she revives Shazam, and then his hand bursts out of the ground, because it's the death of Superman. And then he comes out, it's like, whoa, I was dead. What happened?
No, it's more of like, oh my god, you buried me! And I was only dead for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, but then he sees Wonder Woman, he's getting all fanboy and stuff.
Well, fanboy and love and everything else like that. It's like, oh my god. Hold up, guys, hold up. I got
yeah, and then he gets a spider that was in his mouth, but it really did not look like a spider from my angle.
I guess it's not, but she noticed it, whatever the case may be. But it's kind of fun because it's like, because she revived everything and got her powers back, basically. So, after all that, too. Because, again, she was like, oh, I got my powers back. It's like...
Yeah, and then, of course, he feels the need to ask Wonder Woman out on a date because he wants his wet dream to be a reality. Seriously, someone in the theater said that. He wants his dream to be a reality and go on a date with Wonder Woman. Yeah, but then she's like, stick to saving the world, kid.
Stick to saving the world, kid. And you're like, first or something like that. It's like... it's like, okay. I mean, she never said no.
But yeah, I'm surprised, Batman didn't show up and he was like to Shazam, what are you doing talking to my girl? You asking my girl out on a date? You and I should have a throwdown in Gotham over that. I'm surprised Batman didn't show up and say that. Because there's always that Batman-Wonder Woman romance that the cartoon popularized.
Yeah, the cartoon popularized that one. I'm not sure about the other ones, but, cartoon did. Oh, I guess.
Maybe that would have been kind of funny if, Batman, showed up and he's like, what are you talking to my girl for, man?
I don't think he would have said that part. I think.
But that would have been cheesy if they had done that, but it would have been the funny kind of cheesy I could have tolerated.
Yeah. But again, so it's like, stick to saving that. It's like, okay, yeah. But again, she never said no.
And then there's this line of dialogue that, the foster father throws out. He's like, why are our sons into older women? Because they established that Anne is, over 6,000 years old.
Well, she mentioned that when Freddy was trying to stop her for confronting the sister, and
yeah,
and then she's like, but we're the same age. Like, no, I'm 6,000 years old. Billy was like, but I mean, you look great. You look great.
But I'm surprised he didn't say, oh my gosh, I fell in love with an old woman.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it didn't matter to him.
Yeah, but it's like.
And of course, I think the father or mother was like.
But yeah, this older.
But before that, it was like, I'm not too sure this is appropriate.
But yeah, this older woman thing that he threw out, there's a scene in Reign of the Supermen, one of the animated DC films, but there's a scene where, a cloned Superman known as Superboy, he sees Lois Lane and he asks her, how old are you? And then Lois Lane's like, how old are you? And then he's like, young enough. And then he's like, young enough. And then he's like, because apparently Superboy's got a thing for Lois Lane, and I'm like, DC, you're doing this again.
Also, you may not get the reference You may not get the reference, but for everybody else, Zach Wilson approved of the boys' decisions.
Oh, you're talking about Amazon Prime's The Boys?
No, I'm actually talking about the football player. Again,
okay.
you won't get the reference. I'll tell you after the clip or after this video ended. But again, Zach Wilson approves of both Freddie and Billy's choice of woman.
Oh my gosh! I mean, yeah, the cheese factor with this film was just so tongue in cheek.
Yeah, but it's funny how, like you said, the father was like, "What's with our boys with older?"
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there were any other notable moments or scenes to talk about.
Well, you got the cliche ending trope where all the families are together and, everything's back to normal per se, and they're all talking about, like, their lives.
Yeah, I mean, the family dynamic wasn't bad, but I kind of feel like they backtracked a bit. Like, by the end of the first Shazam, they're a family now, and they're all getting along together. But no, they're still having some conflicts. Like, you see this in the lair scenes where they're having their, like, conflicts, they're trying to do their thing, they're trying to do their own thing. I just feel like they backtracked a bit, and we're just having to go through this all over again.
Well, this one was more of a clear resolution. Like, okay, now everybody knows they have their own lives, basically, but they could still be a family, per se. Which, again, the mother was like, no, this will always be your home, basically. So it's like...
I am happy, though, that with the foster parents, they didn't do the cliche of the parents don't approve and they don't want them to keep on doing this, Yeah. I'm happy they didn't do that. They just went along with it.
Yeah.
So at least they avoided that. I'll give the movie that.
Also kind of funny that the father also kind of tilted up a little bit, but of course the thing said no Shazamming or whatever.
I didn't see that.
There was like the no something in the house because every time he's like, I don't know, for some reason there's lightning in the house. And of course when Billy does the Shazam, he's like, is that why there was lightning in the house?
Okay.
So that I think there was like the whole sign that says no Shazamming.
But I'm surprised the parents didn't figure this out like earlier on, Like they didn't figure it out since the first movie. Or something like that, because
it's the whole cliche, you hide it from your parents or hide it from your older ones or something like that, guardians, whatever, they don't know about it till you
But
tell
it's
them
like, the way they do all this like sneaking away and the powers and the way they're talking, I'm surprised the parents just didn't figure this out.
It's like, we've seen it before. Danny Phantom did it too with all of his ghost power.
There was a Danny Phantom thing? Because I did see the show, I just don't remember that.
There was not a movie, but there was a... the whole thing was Danny Phantom always goes ghost power. The parents didn't realize it until the end of the whole series.
Oh, I gotta watch that show actually. I think it's on Paramount Plus, is it?
I think either that or it's like one of those old like legacy Nickelodeon.
I think it must be on Paramount Plus because I do remember watching Danny Phantom and enjoying it back in the day.
Yeah, but they did. Danny Phantom did reveal himself as the ghost Danny Phantom.
Yeah, because I think I read up on that. But yeah, I'm surprised the foster parents, did not figure this out early on,
But again, it's the whole idea of like you don't reveal, anything like that. You hide away and then you don't figure it out until the last moment, until you tell them or they figure it out, all that sort of stuff.
Now, the family dynamic stuff, it wasn't bad per se. I just, again, feel like they backtracked a bit and were like retreading on grounds from the first movie.
But again, they were all happy, and then of course, Wizard came by, all shaved up.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit.
We talked about that early on. And
then he says this cliche dialogue of, I want to see the world. I've been locked up in prisons and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, jeez.
Well, yeah. And then, of course, he's like, well, I'm going to be taking this, though.
Yeah.
Staff. and then, of course, at the end, of course, Billy was like, but what's my superhero name? And of course, and he's like...
Yeah, they do this where it's like, you think they're going to cut away from saying that key name or moment. I hate it when superhero movies do that. Like, Marvel's done it. Even DC did it.
Yeah, but of course they didn't do that. And he's like, it's Shazam. And it's like, oh.
Of course, they can't use Captain Marvel because they didn't copyright it. And, well, Marvel's got attachment to that. But they did throw that out, actually.
They did throw it out during the middle of the sequence where the guy was like, oh, it's that or Captain Marvel or something like that. It's like, nah, no. And of course, at the end, it's like, Wizard's like, Shazam. And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Freddy was like, we could do better, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, there was one more moment I did want to talk about. It's the sandwich scene. The sandwich scene where he's, like, sitting and he's eating all that food.
Oh,
and then the people of Philadelphia are still like, yeah, you're still not, we can't trust you. And then Hespera shows up and she's talking to him about what they're gonna do and stuff. Yeah. And so when he talks about family, he name drops Fast and Furious in this movie.
Oh yeah, he did name drop. Well, yeah, he name dropped Fast and Furious for the whole like it was supposed to be like the timing thing. It's like the Fast and Furious films. It's all about family.
Yeah, but of course, I actually had an issue with this scene in that when he name drops the Fast and Furious, because you remember that line of dialogue where it's like, "Hey Dom, you gonna turn your back on family?" They advertised that in the 8th film a lot. And following that, there were like all these family memes that tied it back to Fast and Furious.
Well, yeah, of course. Like every single meme was about the whole like it's all about family and family. It's like
yeah,
the whole like, thing. And of course they did it too with that sequence. So it's all about family.
I just kind of feel like it dates the movie by like bringing that back.
It's kind of funny.
I don't know. And then he's like, they do come down, and of course they capture Hespera.
Yeah.
Too easily, I might add. And then she like breaks out of her jail cell like easily. It's like I was so frustrated by that moment. I was like, you did not think this out.
Another cliche. Bad guy gets easily captured because it gets access to the base.
Yeah, which is what's something that happened in Batman Arkham Asylum. Where the Joker gets kidnapped easily, and then he gets control of the whole asylum to carry out his evil scheme.
Yeah.
But Batman Arkham Asylum did it a lot better than this did.
And there was also a few other films or movies and other like media entertainments and stuff like that done that same trope and stuff like that. Besides Batman, I think there was like a. Was it 007?
Anything in James Bond?
James Bond or something like that. I think there was like one recent film that did that same thing where it's like bad guys get captured and all of a sudden you got like his army or something like that. Oh, I think Call of Duty also did that too, actually. I think Black Ops 2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it's like we're going through this movie and we're pointing out all the stuff that it feels familiar of, derivative of, or cliche, and that's why this movie is so frustrating to me. It's like... This does not feel like an original production in the slightest.
Yeah.
It really doesn't, and not even the story felt all that original.
Speaking of which, part 1 of the epilogue scene.
Oh yeah, because there's always a post-credit scene. I don't know why, but I hated the first post-credit scene. I hated it.
Which again, it meant, and like I said in the beginning, with all these post-credit scenes, it means nothing because of Flashpoint.
Yeah, and I mean that's another thing I just want to go off about with this scene is like, so he's out by this like dilapidated abandoned gas station. I think it's a gas station.
Something like that, yeah.
And then these two characters that we saw in the Suicide Squad, and of course they're in the Peacemaker series, but I've never seen Peacemaker. So they show up and they're like, "Oh, Shazam, yeah, we want you to join the Justice." And they stops him and he's like, "Justice League? I so want to be with the Justice League." But then they're like, "Oh no, it's the Justice Society we want you to be a part of."
He's like, "But that's still with Wonder Woman, right? What's your affection towards Wonder Woman?"
Yeah, and that was just ugh.
Yeah, and of course that was like the whole like, okay, this is the whole Justice Society, something like that, but again, it means nothing because of Flashpoint. It's going to restart everything. So,
yeah, I did not like this scene because it felt like the Iron Man Nick Fury scene all over again, but worse. And not understanding why that scene was so impactful in the first place.
And then you have part 2 of the epilogue with the prison sequence.
Yeah, with Thaddeus Savannah, who went to prison in the first movie, and then you got the Caterpillar character, Mr. Mind. And Mr. Mind's like, "For 2 years, I've cooked up this plan. Now we can do it." And Dr. Savannah's like, "Oh, can we do it? Can we do it?"
And he's like, "I gotta do one more thing." It's like, come on!
Yeah, it's like, you don't just throw that in at the last movie and you don't follow up with it, because when I knew they were going to make a Shazam sequel, but I seriously thought that they were going to go ahead and actually follow up with that.
Yeah.
And then after they did that, then we could have had this storyline with the goddesses. But no, they're never going to follow up with that because, like you said, the Flash film, which will be out in a few months, is going to clear the board and start all over again.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't do sequel baits and then you're not going to follow up on it.
You also did the Justice League Dark reference right there. But
yeah, Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Yep, you did the clear the board.
Yeah, because like we got a Flash trailer in front of this, which obviously we know what it's adapting. It's going to clear the board, and these scenes mean nothing because they're just not going to happen.
It's just not going to. Yeah, it's just not going to happen because it's going to clear the board, start again.
But hang on a sec. We're going to get into that, guys.
So yeah, clear the board, start again. So all these epilogue scenes, at least in terms of DC, until after, or maybe at that point of Flashpoint, is not going to mean anything.
Yeah, because like Black Adam did this too, where they're setting up a possible fight with Superman and Black Adam. But because Henry Cavill is no longer a part of this, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
And The Rock wanted to fight Shazam in a future follow-up, but again...
And first Superman.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman too. But again, that's not going to happen because Black Adam bombed and there's going to be no sequel.
Yeah, and again, because of the whole Shazam, I mean, it could be technically brought up again, but again, it has to be after the fact, and they would have to kind of like redo some sort of storyline or build up, basically. If they want to go, still do that per se. But again, and who knows if it's going to happen or not.
Yeah, it's like I just hate it when they throw in these little teases and they never follow up with them. You know, because I've seen this in other media. I hate it when stories do this, where they just throw in sequel bait and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't happen, and you know it won't happen because of Flashpoint.
Yeah, because like we actually got a Flash trailer in front of this movie, and I am still concerned with the way that is going to turn out. Because I can tell you right now, they are not going to faithfully adapt the story. They're going to do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, because right now you have two Flashes, which is the same character, which I was hoping for a different Flash from the...
Oh, you were expecting Grant Gustin from CW?
Yeah, to be the other Flash, basically, or the other Barry, while the main Barry, or at least this main variation of Barry, goes backwards in time, basically.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I mean, it's just... What's really frustrating to me about the Flash movie that's going to come out in a few months, because they've said he goes back in time, prevents his mother's death, but in the process, he makes a world that does not have any metahumans in it. Yeah. And I'm like, like, no competent writer at Marvel or DC would ever come up with that.
Yeah.
No competent writer would ever do that. Because in the Flashpoint storyline, basically, when he resets the timeline for his needs, we see, like, alternative events that go down.
Yeah.
If you ever saw the animated film or read the comic, that's what happens, and there's still metahumans.
Yeah, again, that was the first time he did it. Then, of course, he did it again, which brought up this whole dark timeline, basically. After the second time, basically.
That was in the animated stuff. In the comics, it was a lot different.
Yeah, in the comics, it was a lot different, yeah.
But then again, that entire film adaptation was technically an adaptation of the New 52 to a point.
Yeah, because again, that whole thing was the first Flashpoint, because he did it the first time to save his mother. Then, of course, then you had Thomas as Batman. And
which they're not going to do in this movie, I can tell you right now.
Yeah, because again, that Flashpoint had, again, Bruce dying, Thomas becoming Batman, the mom becomes Joker.
Yeah, like, that was really interesting when they did it in the movie and the comic. They're not going to do it in this one, though.
Probably not, no. Then you also had the Wonder Woman Aquaman relationship between the Amazon
which they're not gonna do, because I don't think you're gonna see them show up.
Then you had Superman being all weak and fragile, basically,
and this time he's been replaced by Kara Zor-El, Supergirl.
Oh yeah,
They might have just brought back Henry Cavill, because it would have been a nice send-off for him.
Yeah, Cyborg was still Cyborg in a sense.
Yeah, I think he was working for the U.S. government, and he was working for the government in that story.
Yep, and then there was some other.
There was Green Lantern, who was working with the Power Ring in the U.S. Air Force.
Oh yeah.
And then Reverse Flash, who actually has a huge part in the story and is a big contributing factor.
Because he wanted to keep the timeline because everything was good, because it was the end of the world, basically, per se.
Yeah, you are not going to see any of this in the live-action Flashpoint movie, and that's what's so frustrating about it to me, is like...
And I guess the parent survives, too, actually, if I remember correctly, because...
Yeah, the parents survive, although the mom was the one that got killed and the father got sent to prison.
Well, I was about to say in terms of Reverse Flash, because actually, funny enough, Reverse Flash got shot by Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, towards the end, and it was not a gunshot in the comic; it was a spear through the chest.
Yeah, but it was a gunshot to the head. But apparently, he said that he fizzled with time.
Yeah, they reveal that in Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay.
Yeah,
which those movies. I mean, Hell to Pay was a lot of fun when I saw it.
Yeah, it was interesting because he revealed he did the whole fizzle fast enough to where he kept himself alive with the gunshot wounds to the head, even though it's not physically possible.
But yeah, you are not going to see any of this in the live-action Flashpoint movie, and that's what's so frustrating about what's coming is
when we get to the Flash film, if I get really mad on camera, and I might, I'm gonna get the drinks out because I'm just gonna have a hard time.
Yeah, and then again, like at the ending of the animated Flashpoint, he goes back in time. He had the note from Thomas Wayne to Bruce Wayne, actually.
Which I don't know if they're going to do that scene or not in the live-action movie. They might, but they will not do it in a very meaningful way.
Well, that depends if this Batman is Thomas Wayne, which is highly unlikely.
It's not Thomas Wayne. It's Michael Keaton's version of the character.
Batman, which, surprisingly, he's still athletic enough and fast enough to keep up with things.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's like 70 or something, and like he's still in good shape.
Yeah, and it's like he's still fast, and I'm like, man, it's like you're on the older side, and you're still acting fast.
I do have an issue with Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, though, because I get his place in Batman history, and I get the impact he had on some folks.
Yep.
But he was not the Batman I grew up with, and he wasn't bad. It's just I don't really think I want to see him again.
Well, yeah, that was early '90s Batman, or
late '80s, early '90s Batman.
Yeah, so again, we weren't around during that time.
I know, but it's like I just kind of feel like some actors, they had their time in the sun. Let's like move on to someone else. But I would have liked if they had brought back Christian Bale's Batman, because he's the one I liked a lot.
Well, of course, that's the other Batman that we would, in terms of live action, we grew up with.
Yeah, and
he came in 2000.
Yeah, he came in 2005, carried all the way to the early 2010s.
Yeah.
But I would like to see him again, because I know at one point or another they were going to connect the Dark Knight trilogy with Man of Steel and the rest of the cinematic universe. Like, they considered it, but they never went ahead with it.
Yeah.
I just would have liked to have seen Bale's Batman again.
Yeah.
But I don't think Bale's interested in coming back unless Christopher Nolan was making the movie.
Yeah.
Another thing that also kind of bothers me about the upcoming Flash film is General Zod.
Oh, yeah, because he makes a return as well.
Yeah, like, why is he the villain? He was never the villain in the original storyline.
I'm not too sure if he's just the main villain.
Well, in the original storyline, you had the big war going on between Aquaman and Wonder Woman, but Reverse Flash was technically he was the major component of that storyline as the villain.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one that pushed Barry to do all this.
Well, yeah, but also at the same time, in the live-action, trailer, I thought we did see Reverse Flash, or maybe there's another variant of Flash.
No, I do not think Reverse Flash is going to be in the movie. They're going to leave the Reverse Flash out entirely.
Then this may be a different variant of Flash, or maybe since there's two Barry Allens, that maybe one has to dress differently to tell the difference.
Yeah, that obviously is the case. But
probably
another thing too is about the upcoming Flash film. Ezra Miller's acting, it is terrible in the new movie. It is terrible.
Yeah, because there's two of him basically.
Yeah, and Ezra Miller's got this blank face where it's like.
Yeah.
And Miller's not reacting, and it's just like. I mean, I was not impressed with Miller's performance at all in the Justice League movies.
Yeah.
Really wasn't. Because, Grant Gustin, I liked him on CW. I liked the Flash from the animated stuff that we grew up with. I don't know why they hired someone that just does not have the chops to pull off this role.
Yeah, and of course he's also trouble with outside legal stuff as well.
Oh, Ezra Miller's controversies, but we'll get into that once we get to the Flash.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing I'm just pointing out with the Flash here is my frustration with DC as a whole, Because to me, with their cinematic universe, they had so much promise, they had so much potential, and they're just gonna throw it down the drain. And it's just not gonna be that good of a movie.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, we're just not gonna get a proper DC cinematic universe.
Yeah.
We could have had it, but it never happened.
Well, again, we'll see how this start of the clean slate goes.
Because, we'll see how it goes, but I just kind of want to know how they justify Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 following the reset.
Yeah.
Because Aquaman 2 is going to be the final film of this franchise before we get the new franchise that James Gunn is planning.
Yep.
And I did want to talk about that, actually, James Gunn's plans for the DC Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Because this is a full-on reboot, completely different universe.
Yep.
And he's already announced what the projects are going to be.
Yep.
It's going to be a mix of games, TV shows, and movies.
Yep.
But even the movie lineup didn't excite me that much. Yeah. The first film, Superman Legacy, do need to take issue with the title. Do need to take issue with it. Basically, the only way that title would work is if it was like Superman's son carrying the legacy.
That would be the case, yeah.
And the movie, from what I can tell, it's going to be not an origin story, but a young Clark Kent working in the Daily Planet and, finding out his Kryptonian heritage.
Yep.
It essentially sounds like a quasi mix of Man of Steel and Superman Man of Tomorrow. It sounds kind of like a remake, but with like remaking two Superman things.
Yeah, I wonder if Kara, since with Flashpoint introducing her, I wonder if she's gonna be playing part of the legacy of Superman, because that would fit somewhat in the mold of legacy.
I do know that there was a Supergirl film planned with the actress that's going to play her in the Flashpoint movie.
Yeah.
But it's been canceled due to the fallout of the Batgirl movie that got canceled. So you're never going to see her again.
Well, no, but I'm saying in the Superman legacy,
that's not what's happening. They have a movie lined up for Supergirl. It's called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Okay.
Again, need to take issue with that title because it sounds like a feminist title.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
well, the reason why I kind of asked that though about that is just because it is, you say legacy of Superman or the Superman legacy or something like that, but I'm like, well, that could fit with Kara being cousins of Carl.
But they're gonna, Kara being the cousin of Kal-El.
Or Kal-El, yeah.
Yeah, well, they're gonna do that with their Supergirl movie. But the only way I can see the Supergirl movie working is if like it's the origin story of Kara Zor-El, which is what they're gonna do. But have Brainiac be the villain of that movie because I want to see Brainiac.
Oh yeah, that's right, Brainiac. Which the last time, in terms of terms of media entertainment, was Injustice 2.
Yeah, and he was really well done in Injustice 2, and the actor did a great job playing him. It was Jeffrey Combs or whatever.
Yeah.
He was really good in that role. But I just want to see Brainiac on a live-action film because, like, he's been in TV and animation, but we've never really had a proper live-action Brainiac.
Yeah.
And that would be really cool to see, actually.
Yeah.
I do know the other films in this lineup are The Authority, which is a DC team that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if they were name-dropped in, like, the Shazam movie or not, but I kind of got a little Authority when they were name-dropping team names.
Yeah.
Because in the post-credit scene, we forgot to mention this, he's mentioning, like, different hero teams, and then he says, like, the Avengers Society.
Oh, that was supposed to be like a thing at Avenger or something like that. Because I thought he was gonna say Super Friends at the end, like the TV show a while back in the early 2000s, like the Super Friends, and you also got the Legion of Boom and
Legion of Doom and
yeah,
stuff.
Legion of Doom, yeah, the Super Friends and the Legion of Doom, yeah. So I thought he was gonna name drop that, but instead he went with the taking something, or throwing something, at MCU with the Avengers.
Yeah, and then, like, so The Authority's the second film in the lineup, and then the third film is called The Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
But it's going to be about Batman and the Bat family.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to bring Damian Wayne into the picture, and I'm like, that might go a little interesting.
Oh, yeah, because Damian was the one that has the...
He's the son of Batman.
He is the actual direct son of Batman, because the other ones, they were like basically like adopted basically. Dick, Jason,
Tim Drake.
One. Yep, and then technically Barbara too.
Barbara Gordon's not really adopted. She's like a helping hand.
Helping hand, yeah, the helping hand, yeah.
Yeah, but I just kind of want to know when they bring Damian Wayne in, like, how's that going to go well with fans? Because there's people that hate Damian Wayne.
Yeah, I think some of that comes from his attitude.
His attitude and the way he was raised.
His attitude, the way he was raised, and also how he acted a little bit, especially in the Dark trilogy as well.
The animated stuff.
The animated stuff, because again, he did acted very...
Yeah, people hate Damian Wayne from what I can tell.
Yeah, because he was very much like a kind of like very he had like a hate towards his father basically, or
but eventually he kind of grew out of that a bit.
He kind of grew out of that a bit, but of course he still has because he is a direct descendant of Bruce, does have his looks and his wits.
That is true, although he's more violent when compared to Bruce.
He is more violent, that is for sure, because that's one thing he didn't like about Bruce. That's one thing.
Yeah, so the way they're describing it, I just kind of feel like, are they going to adapt Son of Batman into a film?
Yeah.
Live action? Is it going to be not that? Maybe
yeah.
dynamics with the other Bat family? I don't really know.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because in the in the dark timeline, because there are some people have made memes or kind of like photo of like was it like Green Lantern saying you can't be doing this or no, he's like you're not just some guy in a suit, and Batman with a smile get the little grin, he's like oh my god you are, and then Beast Boy was like you don't have a plan to take down Superman. Damian smile, and then Beast Boy was like oh my god, I think he does have a plan. Because it's the kind of like exact same or very similar type of like sentences, and then both Bruce and Damian give a smile of like, oh, I got something up my sleeve, or oh yeah, I'm that sort of thing, and it's like, oh my god, jeez.
Yeah, and then there's a Swamp Thing movie that's in the works too. That was the fifth movie they revealed. Yeah. Which I actually want to know more about Swamp Thing because he's kind of a character that doesn't get a lot of attention.
No, but he is considered a neutral party.
Yeah, like he protects the green mostly.
Yeah.
But if you saw the way he was portrayed in Injustice 2, like they could go that route if they wanted to.
Yeah, because again, he is a neutral party. He has no affiliation towards the the good guys. Plus, he has no affiliation towards the bad guys.
His affiliation is with the Earth, technically.
Yep. His affiliation is with the Earth and the Earth only. So if you try to harm Earth, he will fight you.
That is true, and I just want to see that how good a Swamp Thing movie would be, because there's been like several Swamp Thing adaptations over the years, some of which are not very well known. But the fact that they're taking a lesser known character and giving him a chance, that's pretty cool of them.
Yeah.
But the thing is about James Gunn's movie lineup, it didn't really excite me that much when it first got announced.
Yeah.
Because that's not really the way I would structure the DC Cinematic Universe. Like, the way I would do it is introduce different members of the Justice League and then culminate in a Justice League film. Yeah. And before anyone accuses me of saying, well, that's the Marvel way of doing things, let me remind you, Marvel did not patent the way cinematic universes are made.
No, but, I mean, again, the way that they kind of did it, it was kind of like that, though. I mean, they're going to go off of that, basically, because it is live action. People are going to replicate what was successful, basically, in Marvel in terms of live action, was successful in doing that. So if DC did that, they're going to say, well, you copy off of the succession of what Marvel did it.
Yeah, but I would not have minded if DC took that route, because it would have just felt better.
Yeah.
But they just want to go, oh, we got to do these crossovers and stuff. But James Gunn's lineup, I don't know why, it just didn't really get me excited that much.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to see how it goes, because James Gunn said that Justice League Unlimited and Young Justice are the animated blueprint he's using. So good on him. I would have used the entire DC animated universe as a blueprint, which was Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, the two Justice League cartoons, and then you got...
Which does include Unlimited, too, which he said that was part of the whole thing.
Yeah, and then you got Static Shock, which was part of the DCAU.
Yeah.
And they've been trying to get a Static movie off the ground for years.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if Static did get a movie, but it's going to be a long time before they do something like that.
Yeah.
And then on the TV side of things, he said, James Gunn said, the Green Lantern reboot, it's going to be a TV series. And from what I've heard, it's going to be Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart teaming up and going on an adventure together.
That would be interesting, because there are two Green Lanterns that people have either took to, are trying to say, I don't know if they're trying to say which one's the real Green Lantern. I'm not too sure if that's the thing or not, between Hal and John.
Yeah, and then there was a Kyle Renner, I think it was, but there's other human Green Lanterns outside of Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart.
I'm trying to think.
There was Jessica Cruz, I think it was, because there was a female Green Lantern that was human that was on the team.
The one in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, was that Hal or John?
It was Jon Stewart. Hal Jordan showed up in Justice League Unlimited, but from an alternative dimension or timeline, I think it was.
Yeah, but Jon Stewart, that was the one from the regular Justice League Animated and Justice League Unlimited in terms of that one with Hawkgirl.
Yeah, Hawkgirl. But the thing that really frustrates me about this Green Lantern reboot that's coming up, I wish it was a movie, not a TV series. Yeah. Because in the original lineup, there was a Green Lantern reboot in the works called Green Lantern Corps. Yeah. And Snyder was going to tease that in his Justice League movies. There are going to be teases to that movie, but of course the movie's not happening. And there was a bunch of shakeups at the time.
Oh, yeah.
But I just want a good Green Lantern reboot, because the one with Ryan Reynolds, it really wasn't that good. I simply did not like the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, and even Ryan Reynolds has joked a lot about how bad that turned out.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be the Hal Jordan in that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and that movie was supposed to be the original start of the DC Cinematic Universe, but it failed, so Man of Steel was restructured as the start.
Yeah.
And then there's a Booster Gold TV series, which did start out as a film in development. Oh, yeah? But I actually do want to see that, because Booster Gold is a character I actually want to know more about. They dedicated an entire Justice League Unlimited episode to him, so it'd be nice if we had a show that was dedicated to him and I learned more about his mythos.
Yeah.
Because if you could successfully do that with The Flash on CW, you could do it here with Booster Gold.
Yeah.
And then, actually, the Creature Commandos are going to get a TV series, too. They're basically like these... imagine if the Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and Dracula worked for the U.S. Army and were superheroes. That's what the Creature Commandos is. So it's nice that they're finally getting some attention.
Yeah.
Which is nice. But then there's a bunch of other obscure stuff they're working on, so it's like... They're starting out with smaller stuff before they can get to the big stuff, but not really well-known material. But it's nice that they're giving the lesser-known... James Gunn's giving the lesser-known material a chance, you know?
Yeah.
Because we've had so many of the big things over the years.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay, we're going to start over, but we're going to start over a little bit small and then build our way up again.
Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But again, it's just... I'm just really frustrated with DC, because it's like... We could have had something great many years ago, and the animated stuff was a good blueprint for them to work with.
And the animated still holds true, though, because they did rule in terms of the animation department.
Yeah, they still do. But it's like, why can't they replicate the success of that into their movies?
Because I can remember a lot of, like, good Justice League and maybe some unlimited shows or, like, episodes. I know in the regular Justice League, there was the kind of, like, Jon Stewart's kind of, like, background a little bit when he was arrested and, was put on trial.
Yeah, that was in the Green Lantern Corps, but I know he was, I think it was part of a... I can't remember this, but I think he was part of a division of the U.S. Armed Forces in the comics.
Yeah. Then you also got the kind of like the background story of John.
Yeah, the Martian Manhunter.
With the alien invasion that went to Mars, which then John escaped from, and then of course that alien invasion came to Earth.
Yeah, I mean that was a very epic story, and you kept you intrigued.
Yeah.
And it stayed true to the comics, or at least if I was to pick up a comic after watching the animated stuff, I'd be like, oh, this is really cool.
Then there was an episode with Wonder Woman trying to go back to her home island, but then you had like a servant of Hades.
It was Felix Faust. He was trying to get Hades out of the underworld.
Yep.
And he's like, do all this for me and I'll free your mother.
Yep.
Which he does, and then eventually they release Hades.
Yep.
And that was actually another thing we were walking out of the theater is like, if the Justice League can help Wonder Woman in a situation involving the Greek gods, why couldn't they do it in Shazam 2? But I guess they didn't have the budget for that.
No, but I also felt like with Shazam, I would have been okay with at least Wonder Woman because, again, it was her realm.
Yeah, but they could have called this movie Justice League Fury of the Gods. You would have had a lot going on, but it would have been kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I guess they didn't think of that.
I don't know. But then what else there was? Trying to think. There was another one. Let's see. So I already mentioned Martian Manhunter. Oh yeah, there was the Hawk Girl kind of like background a little bit as well.
Yeah, Hawk Girl when she's a Thanagarian, she was sent to Earth.
And then of course her Thanagarian people came to Earth, but the reason why they came to Earth was because they can try to use that as like a counter offensive basically against this like other army.
Yeah, it was the Gordanians, that's what it was.
Yeah, because they're at war with the Gordanians, but they use Earth as like a outpost, basically, so that way they can counter an attack, basically.
Yeah, but in the process, they will destroy the Earth.
Yeah.
But that's the thing we're talking about with these Justice League episodes is like, we want the movies to be like that, you know? Yeah. We want them to be as big and epic and as like engaging and exciting as the cartoons were, but none of these movies have really captured that feel, you know?
Oh, there was the Aquaman, too, another one like that, where Aquaman had a traitorous...
it was Orm. His brother Orm wanted the throne.
Yep.
And so, basically, he did a coup to try and usurp Aquaman.
Yep.
But in the end, they end up fighting back, and they get the throne back, and they cast out all the traitors that were working with him.
And, of course, Aquaman lost an arm.
Yes, he did that to save his son.
Yep.
And the way it was wrapped in that red cloth, that could be like the metaphor for blood.
Yeah, and well, then you also had like the sharp, kind of like hook, basically.
Yeah, which I don't know if they're gonna do that in Aquaman 2 or not.
Don't know, but yeah, because that was his anger, vengeance, basically too. Which I could, Jason Momoa could actually, if you put that and Aquaman from the live and not the live, but
they probably modeled Jason Momoa's Aquaman after that version of the character.
Yeah, because I was about to say because they do look very similar, basically. If you think about it,
they actually do look similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing when we talk about these Justice League episodes. It's like we're just talking about how great they were, how engaging they were, and the movies have just not replicated that kind of success.
No, they have not for sure. Yeah, because again, the animated one, they dominated that department.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like I keep walking into these DC movies expecting them to be like the cartoons, and then I come out disappointed because that's not the case.
No.
it's just so frustrating with DC, because they've been through so many shakeups, so many,
Which is kind of funny because Marvel, they did decent, but nothing compared to DC animations.
Well, there's been good Marvel animation throughout the years. But
but they never, again, like in the early stages, we're talking like early 2000s, where DC dominated in the anime department. Marvel did have some good animated, but they weren't like.
They weren't up there with the DC stuff, but
then when they came to the live animation, live movies, then they started to dominate.
Yes, and it's just the animation stuff is what actually got me interested in these characters.
Yeah.
The live action stuff played its part, but it was the animated stuff because I always felt the animated stuff was like, if I pick up a comic after seeing the animated stuff and I saw how similar they were, I'd be like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting. I want to know more.
Yeah.
The live action films don't exactly do that because the live action movies are typically doing their own thing, you know? And really that's always been the case with DC is like they've always been kind of doing their own thing. Same thing with the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And really that's the case.
To a degree, but they still have to follow very similar blueprints though.
Yeah. Anyway, we've kind of rambled on a bit about DC.
Which is why the Infinity
plans.
War was different though, because again, like you said, how they did their own thing, because in the comics, Infinity War, that's where, not just everyone we saw from the live action Infinity War, but also I think Fantastic Four was part of it.
Yeah,
X-Men.
the X-Men were a part of it, but that was like decades worth of material.
Yeah.
Whereas the MCU had only like one decade.
One decade, and they had these certain characters, but only because of their rights and stuff like that. Yes, they could only use that.
Yeah, but anyway, we've kind of rambled on a bit, we have rambled on because, these videos, they're long, but we're passionate about the things we talk about,
Yep.
And it's just, yeah. So we'll see how the Flash film turns out. I do not have a lot of enthusiasm or optimism for it, and if I end up having a breakdown on camera, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's going to end up good.
Yeah.
But closing statements on Shazam: Fury of the Gods?
Again, it was a mixture of good, cheesy, and cringe, and a little bit cringe, I guess, a little bit.
I think, yeah.
And some funny moments too.
Yeah, I think for me this was a step down when compared to the first Shazam, but I did feel like this was better than Black Adam. It's at least that good.
Yeah.
Because I seriously did not like Black Adam. I definitely thought it was one of the weaker entries of this franchise. Still do, but the first Shazam was one of the better ones, or at least the more tolerable ones,
Yeah.
But this movie, like you said, it's cheesy, it's cliche. It's also kind of frustrating,
cringy, funny.
It just
B minus B film.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like, and there were points where I was just going like, this feels like a Zack Snyder film.
Yeah, but again, in terms of grade, B minus B graded film.
Yeah, but it's like for me, this was a frustrating experience. It was frustrating. It was cheesy. It was cringy, like you said. I just don't know. I don't really know if I should put it in the okay category. I really don't know if I should.
Yeah.
I really don't know if I should put this in the okay category, because... Okay, I'll tell you some of the things I did like about this movie.
Yep.
I liked the acting. I thought the acting was really well done.
Fight sequence.
The fights and the sequences, they did get interesting and entertaining in spots. I will not deny that. It was kind of hard to follow a bit, but I could still understand what was going on.
Yeah.
And I think really, that's just about it. Because, like, the effects were very digital, and I could tell people were on green screens.
Yep, and then you also had a lot of cheesy sequences, too.
Yeah, which
From
was...
the Anne and Freddie's, love relationship.
Yeah, I mean... So frustrating.
And a lot of other cliches and stereotypes happening. Also, the big advertisement by Skittles.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I didn't think this movie was going to be frustrating, you know? I thought this would be better than Black Adam, and it was, but again, it's just proof that DC is just having a very frustrating time with these properties.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just want these to be like the cartoons, you know? I mean, this was a really frustrating experience for me. I'm not angry with it, just frustrated. But there were some things I did like about it.
Yep.
You probably liked it a little more than I did, but even you had your issues with it.
There were some issues, I will say that, but again, it was a solid film, but yeah, B-, B, like I said, graded overall, but yeah, there was just...
I would not say this was solid. I would say this is, I don't know how to classify this. I don't even know if this is an okay movie. Maybe I'm just kind of underwhelmed, but also frustrated with it at the same time.
Well, again, I guess, like you said, you're taking the animated and how dominant they were in the 2000s and have that expectation upon the films, which we have seen multiple times throughout the live action films that they have not done their parts, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess really people are probably going to like, well, that's a bad expectation to go in with, but I'm sorry, guys, the animated stuff left a very big impression on me, and I want these movies to be like that. And I'm not the bad guy for saying that. And I really hope there's no DC fans that attack me over this, because I know how tribalistic they get and how crazy they can get with these movies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys, but Black Adam wasn't that good. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there to the fans. I don't know. I think we've just kind of rambled on with this one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would watch this again. Like, maybe if they get it on HBO Max before The Flash comes out.
Maybe.
Which I don't know if they'll do that, but if they do that, I'll probably see it again just to be a completionist.
Yeah.
But I do want to rewatch Flashpoint and that entire 15-film saga. You call it the Dark Timeline, but technically it's called the DCAMU, which is DC Animated Movie Universe.
Yep, but it is dark. It is still the Dark Timeline because of how it builds up and how it gets easily dark in most of its films, and also at the ending too, where it's just basically a grim ending.
Yeah, I mean, but I do want to see it again because I might, try to make some comparisons between. I don't know if I'm going to make comparisons, but I just want to see that entire saga again so I can see how it handled its Flashpoint timeline and rebooted timeline. And then maybe we'll see where it goes from there with the live-action Flashpoint.
Yeah, and especially, again, I will say this still in terms of the Dark Timeline, or, I know the animated universe, the ending of that entire saga was actually the boss fight, or the big fight at the end of it all between the old god and the new god, Darkseid and Trigon. That was probably their best idea ever that they came up with, basically having the old god versus the new god.
Yeah,
fight.
And I mean, I remember this series, because I have gone through it before.
Yeah.
I remember it like having its moments, and there were points where I'm like, oh, this is kind of entertaining, but I think I would take it over the live action material if I could, because when the animated stuff, they can get away with things that are more sillier. It feels a little closer to the comics, whereas the live action movies don't exactly.
Yeah, but again, with Trigon versus Darkseid, that was like, ooh, man. Especially with Trigon taking over Superman's body, too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll do that in a future movie. They probably won't.
Probably won't, no, because again, that's a lot of CGI digital effect that they would have to do with Superman, because...
You'd also want the graphics to look as good as Avatar: The Way of Water.
Or something like that, yeah, because again, you got to have, like, it's... Not only hit, Superman body going from, like, normal to reddish a bit, but then you also have to have...
The 4 eyes and the horns.
4 eyes, horns. I think you also have to have, like, a fiery cape, too.
Yeah, because that was in there, too. And then the insignia on the chest.
Yep, which it burns, basically. Still keeps burning, too.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have to kind of, like, digitized or kind of like very much deepen the voice too a little bit.
Oh, they would definitely have to do that. No,
Because
no
of
doubt
Trigon
about that.
voice and stuff like that.
Yeah. So.
But, and again, with the laser, and especially with the laser effects too, because I can imagine, and it proved to be that hit Trigon's laser eyes was more powerful than, or somewhat more powerful than Darkseid's eyes.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll definitely rewatch that saga, and if I feel like it, the live action stuff to prepare for the Flashpoint. It's a lot, but I'm gonna do it because I just wanna, just kind of there will be some comparisons, I guess, with how the animated stuff does it better than the live action stuff, but I'm just really nervous about that Flashpoint movie. Mm-hmm. And I think really they said with Shazam 2 it would lead straight into the Flash. I did not get any feel of that one bit. I just did not.
It did not. No, I was hoping that the part 2 of the epilogue or one of the epilogues would have set up something like that. No, it didn't.
No,
and
it
again,
did not.
like that would have made one of the epilogue maybe made something, but again, both epilogues I was like, nope, it will not matter because of Flashpoint.
Yeah, that's the case. I mean, just Flashpoint's going to be technically it's called The Flash, but that movie's going to be a very interesting experience when we get to it.
Yeah.
I do not think it will be good, but again, we'll just see how everything plays out.
And it also feels like it's going to be multiple villains. I kind of feel like, and General Zod is going to be one of them.
Whatever they got planned, we'll see how it goes. But I'm just saying, I'm going in there with a lot of caution, and I'll probably compare it a lot to the animated stuff because I do that.
Yeah, well, I know your direct comparison is going to be to the animated, which start the animated universe, the Flashpoint.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, we'll just see how it goes. But either way, with Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I mean, my suggestion to people, if you see this movie, is go in there and form your own opinion. Maybe you'll like it more than I did. And you'll probably like it a little more than I think we both did.
Yeah, there, you can find a way to sneak a drink or two in the theater. Probably enjoy yourself.
Yeah, because, I mean, this was a really frustrating experience. I wanted it to be better than the first movie, really. I wanted it to be better, but it just feels like a step down. It was so frustrating. I'm not mad, I'm just frustrated with the way it turned out. And I think maybe, they've considered bringing Zachary Levi, however you say his name, back into the new universe, because they have talked with the old actors about bringing him back. I mean, if he keeps going with Shazam, that would be nice. But we'll just see what happens, really.
We'll definitely see what happens.
Yeah, but I'm just happy that we got to this movie, we got to see it, and we're sharing our thoughts to you all.
Yep.
But really, it's like you can go in there with whatever you're thinking. If you have the same opinion we had and we got frustrated with it a bit, then you can sympathize with us. If you liked it more than we did, good for you.
And leave your comment and your reasonings down at the comment section below.
That is, of course, if you all want to share something, but you probably... I don't know what your thoughts are with the long vids. But again, the vids are long because we're just passionate about what we talk about.
Well, I would imagine the next one will probably be longer because the next one is going to be...
the Mario movie.
Which is, we're going to be talking about a whole lot more about the games.
Which, by the way, we actually got the second trailer for that in front of this movie. Finally, because a lot of the movies we've been to only played the first trailer.
Yeah, it played the second trailer, not the first, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that was nice.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But the point I wanted to bring up when we talk about that is the tumultuous history of gaming movies, because a lot of them tend to be very bad.
We'll bring that up along with our gaming histories as well.
Which we kind of touched on in the Ant-Man video. We're sorry we got sidetracked, but
Yeah, we'll deep dive into that one as well, and some other affiliated in terms of the video games and stuff like that as well. And current video games as well. Maybe by that point of time as well.
My only hope, though, with the Mario film is that it breaks the video game movie curse, and we finally get something that...
breaks it for good, because again, that was, because the Sonic was, kind of like the big, kind of like...
I know some people said it was Sonic, but I never really grew up with Sonic. I have no personal attachment to the character, so I can't speak for that. Mario, I have more of an attachment to because I've played my fair share of Mario games.
You have some, and I've played my fair share of Sonic, and that that looked like a really good film. Looked like it was going to be really bad, and of course everybody bullied the studio.
Yeah, they hated the CG change, the original CG face. And then they changed it to look more like Sonic, and then everybody forgave the studio, and they're like, just keep this up and we'll be on good terms.
Yeah, because after that big change, it made the movie a lot more better. Because again, it looked like Sonic and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, all right, yeah, keep this up. We'll appreciate it more.
And at least they had the time and budget to fix them, because if they had rushed it, I mean, it would not have looked good.
No, that would have been that. If they would have kept that thing, that would have been part of the other terrible movie, video game things as well.
Yeah, but when we see the Mario film, I mean, I just hope it breaks the gaming movie curse. The other thing I'm gonna try and figure out with it too is the casting of all those people.
Which is kind of interesting. I did like Jack Black, Bowser choice. I mean, initially, and
I don't like the casting of Jack Black as Bowser. I really don't.
To me, I kind of felt like it was actually a really good choice. And I know a good amount of people agree with me as well. I've seen that too. Everyone seemed to like it. The only one that everyone has their skepticism on is Chris Pratt as Mario.
Well, I have skepticism outside of Chris Pratt. Is that you also got Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, which really.
I mean, maybe that's also another mixer up. I kind of feel like that one maybe that's a 50-50.
I just didn't picture Seth Rogen being the guy to be Donkey Kong, I don't know who I'd have voiced Donkey Kong, but like...
You got Charles Day as Luigi.
Charlie Day.
Or Charlie Day, yeah.
Yeah, he's a comedian, but it's like, I don't think I like that choice either.
That was another interesting one. I thought I would have gone with maybe Tom Holland just because it would have been the...
Oh, no, I would not have gone with Tom Holland at all.
I don't know, because Luigi, I mean, Charlie Day may be pretty good with Luigi, who knows? I can imagine that, but I don't know. I was looking for Luigi to be a little bit more... Well, maybe Charlie Day could actually be a pretty good one, because I was thinking more of like you got the secondary brother who kind of was like,
Well, I would have like gotten the original voice actors back, because they're still around. They can still voice these guys.
And they're doing cameo. They're part of the whole movie, but they're part of like that cameo thing.
Oh, it's that trope again where they bring in the original actor and the new actors running around.
Yeah, something like that, but I'm not too sure like when. But the original voice actor for Mario and some of the other characters, he is listed on the Super Mario casting.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it turns out. I don't have a lot of hope for it, but we'll see how it turns out.
Then you also got Peach by
Anna Taylor-Joy. That casting I don't mind. That one I don't mind at all.
That was another one that was like, okay, that was a pretty good choice right there. Then you also got the other comedian too for Toad, Keegan Key or something. Yeah, but I thought that was a pretty funny choice right there too.
I'll just have to wait and see how it turns out. I mean,
yeah.
I will say this though. The Mario movie, another thing that makes me concerned about it is the creators of Teen Titans Go are apparently writing and directing the movie, and I'm like, oh no.
Didn't you also say there were some other people part of like other like Despicable Me or stuff like that?
Oh, the studio making it? Yeah. Like the studio behind it, they did Despicable Me, Secret Life of Pets, and some other stuff. Yep. This is their first licensed movie that they're making. Yep. I mean, it's kind of like Insomniac Games, where Insomniac did a bunch of original stuff. Spyro, Ratchet and Clank, Resistance. Then they get their first licensed game with Spider-Man, and everybody loved that. Even I loved it. Yeah. So it's like, will this be the same thing? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. But, I mean, we'll see how the Super Mario goes. But definitely we're going to be talking a lot about video games.
Yeah.
From history of the video game movies, to our past gaming history, to our current ones.
Yeah, I mean... The Mario film better not be as frustrating as Shazam 2 was. Better not be as frustrating. Will it be cheesy? I don't know.
Oh, I can imagine just be cheesy because they're going to pull a lot of Mario references and stuff like that.
Well, Mario's more lighthearted than cheesy, and I mean...
There's going to be a bunch of references. They're probably going to be cheesy on the offhand, too, during the film.
Well, I mean, yeah, the way it's written, they could probably get away with some cheesy stuff.
I can imagine a blue shell coming in with the Mario Kart.
The blue shell bomb thing?
Yep.
That only goes to the first place person?
Yep.
That was one of the more frustrating things about that game.
I can imagine something like that's going to be happening, especially with Rainbow Road.
Yeah, the Mario Kart sequence might even be the best sequence in the whole movie.
Yeah, who knows?
But again, it's going to make me just want to play the actual Mario Kart.
Then you also have during the second trailer the whole the easily of the whole like the level designs too, basically, and how Mario just kept failing.
Oh, that was something I did not like, because it's like if I wanted to do that, I would just play the game. I do not want to see that replicated.
Yeah.
And it's like they're gonna do a lot of jokes with it, and I'm gonna really get really frustrated. I mean, it could be a frustrating experience, but it better not be as frustrating as Shazam 2. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
I can already tell they'll just based off like the second trailer too and some of the things that they're going to do a lot of or a good amount of cheesiness and references to from the Mario games.
Another thing that bothered me about the movie's poster was that it was like designed like a Marvel poster, you know? Because we've seen it, the new one. It just feels like a Marvel poster, and I'm like, not everything needs to be designed in that style.
Yeah.
I mean, do something else with it.
Yeah.
The first poster they had was pretty good.
Yeah.
But we'll just see how it goes. I just want to know if it will break the movie curse of gaming films once and for all.
We will see, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And if it gets good ratings, that's a sign of indication.
Yeah.
It will probably be successful, because I know a lot of people are extremely hyped about it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, I mean, yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I don't have a lot of hope for it, but we'll see.
Yeah. Who knows,
I
maybe.
just wanted to have some entertaining moments that I can, like, say, oh, that was pretty decent.
Who knows? Maybe a Super Smash Bros. Multiverse film,
They would probably make that further down the road. I don't see that.
If it becomes very much success.
Okay, well, we've gone on for a very long time, but yeah, that was Shazam 2. Frustrating experience, but go up, make up your mind.
Yep.
That's what I encourage people to do. So we'll see you next time for Mario.
All right.